This program comes to you by electrical transcription. The Treasury Star Parade. With Miss Jane Cowell and several citizens from the great march of the Essex coast of England, with Al Goodman and his orchestra and chorus, and Frederick March is our master of ceremonies. Our slogan,
Millions for Defense. This is Frederick March, ladies and gentlemen, in another of the new series of programs brought to you by the Treasury Department. To all those whose watchword is service, whose devotion is true and unconscious of self, we dedicate this beautiful story of Paul Gallico's, The Snow Goose, as read by Miss Jane Cowell, with the musical background by Ralph Wilkinson.
The great marsh lies on the Essex coast between the village of Chelmsbury and the ancient Saxon fishing hamlet of Wickledruff. It's one of the last wild places of England, desolate, utterly lonely, and made lonelier by the calls and cries of the wildfowl that make their homes in the marshlands and saltings. In the late spring of 1930, young Philip Ryader came to live at the abandoned lighthouse by the old sea wall. He was a painter of birds and nature, who for reason had withdrawn from all human society. For he was a hunchback, and his left arm was crippled, thin and bent at the wrist like the claw of a bird. And he'd found this a world in which he could not take part as other men. He was a friend to all things wild, and all things wild repaid him with their friendship. Each fall, the wild geese would come swinging down the coast from Iceland and Spitzbergen in great skeins that darkened the sky and filled the air with the rushing noise of their passage, barking and whooping and honking in the autumn sky, to circle the landmark of the old light and drop to earth nearby to be his guests again, birds that he well remembered and recognized from the previous year. This made Ryader happy, and he didn't seem to mind so much that the natives looked askance at his misshapen body and dark visage, marked him off as that queer chap that lives down to the lighthouse. But one November afternoon, 3 years after Ryader had come to the Great Marsh, a child approached the lighthouse studio by means of the sea wall. In her arms she carried a burden. She was no more than 12, slender, dirty, nervous, and timid as a bird, but beneath the grime as eerily beautiful as a marsh fairy. She was desperately frightened of the ugly man she'd come to see, but greater than her fear was the legend that this ogre who lived in the lighthouse had magic that could heal injured things. For in her arms was a large white bird, and it was quite still. There were stains of blood on its whiteness and on her kirtle where she held it to her.
What is it, child?
The voice she heard was deep and kind. The bird fluttered as she placed it in his arms.
I found it, sir. It hurted. I found it in a marsh where hunters had been. Can you heal it, sir?
Yes, we will try. Come, you shall help me.
There were scissors and bandages and splints on a shelf, and he was marvelously deft. The child watched, fascinated. He bandaged the wing close to the body and made a splint for the shattered leg.
What is it, sir?
It's a snow goose from Canada. Terrible storms must have driven her far off her course. I've never seen one here before. We will call her the Lost Princess. In a few days she'll be feeling much better. See.
He reached into his pocket and produced a handful of grain. The snow goose nibbled at it. The child laughed with delight, and then suddenly caught her breath with alarm as the full import of where she was pressed in upon her. And without a word, she turned and fled out of the door.
Wait!
He called. The girl was already fleeing down the seawall, but she paused at his voice and looked back.
What is your name, child?
Lisa?
Where do you live?
With the fisher folk at Wickledorf?
Will you come back tomorrow or next day? See how the princess is getting along?
She paused, and Ryader thought of the wild water birds caught motionless in that split second of alarm before they took their flight. But her thin voice came back to him, and then she was gone, with her fair hair streaming out behind her. The goose mended rapidly, and the child Fritha became a frequent visitor. until one day in June, the snow goose with the others answered the strong call of the breeding grounds, climbed into the sky in ever-widening circles, and vanished. With the departure of the snow goose ended the visits of Fritha to the lighthouse. And that summer, out of his memory, Ryder painted a picture of a slender, grime-covered child, her fair hair blown by a November storm, who bore in her arms a wounded white bird. But in mid-October, the miracle occurred. Above the sea and tide, he heard a clear, high note, saw a white pinion dream that circled the lighthouse once, then dropped to earth and came waddling forward importantly to be fed. It was the snow goose. When next Ryder went to the village, he left a message with the postmistress.
Tell Fritha, who lives with the fisher folk at Wickledroth, that the lost princess has returned.
And so time passed. Each spring the snow goose would disappear, and with it Fritha. In the fall they would both return, until one spring Ryder realized with a shock that she was no longer a child. Standing shoulder to shoulder on the seawall, their glowing eyes watched the departing geese form their flight tracery. And suddenly...
Look, Philip, look!
Ryder followed her eyes. The snow goose had taken flight. Her giant wings spread, but she was flying low. Once, twice, she circled the lighthouse, then dropped to earth again in the enclosure and commenced to feed.
She bean't going, Philip. The princess be going to stay.
I shall stay. She will never go away again. This is her home now, of her own free will.
And Fritha was suddenly conscious of the fact that she was frightened. And the things that frightened her were in Ryder's eyes. The longing and the loneliness, and the deep, welling, unspoken things that he could not speak because of what he felt himself to be, misshapen and grotesque. And the woman in her counseled flight from something she was not yet capable of understanding. It was more than 3 weeks before she returned to the lighthouse. She came back, she told herself, only to see the snowbird. But she found Philip loading supplies into his little sailboat, which she'd often seen him handle with such skill, and a great fear, she knew not why, came into her heart.
Philip, you be going away.
The snow goose was forgotten. Words came tumbling from Ryder now. He must go to Dunkirk, 100 miles across the channel. A British army was trapped there on the sands, awaiting destruction at the hands of the advancing Germans. Fritha listened and felt her heart dying within her. He was saying he would sail the channel in his little boat. It could take 6 men at a time. In a pinch, 7.
Philip, must he go? You'll not come back. Why must it be?
I must, my dear. I must. Men are huddled on the beaches like hunted birds, Fritha. Like the wounded and hunted birds we used to find and bring to the sanctuary. And they need help, dear, as our wild creatures have needed help. And this is why I must go. It is something that I can do, Fritha. For once, I can be a man and play my part.
And Fritha stared at Ryder. He no longer seemed ugly or misshapen or grotesque, but very beautiful. Things were turmoiling in her own soul, crying to be said, and she didn't know how to say them.
I'll come with you, Philip.
No, my dear. Your place in the boat would cause a soldier to be left behind, and another, and another. I must go alone. Will you look after the birds until I return, Fritha?
I will. And Godspeed ye, Philip.
Fritha stood on the seawall and watched the sail gliding into the sea. Suddenly, from the darkness behind her, there came a rush of wings, and something swept past her in the air. In the night, she saw the flash of white wings and the thrust-forward head of the snow goose. It rose and cruised over the lighthouse once, then headed out toward where Ryder's sail was slanting in the gaining breeze, and flew above him in slow, wide circles. Watch over him, watch over him, Fritha whispered, until she could no longer see them, and they were both swallowed up in the night. Now the story becomes fragmentary. It's been gathered from many sources and from many people. Some of it comes from men who have looked upon strange and violent scenes.
A goose! A blooming goose, so help me God! A goose it was! Jock here seen it same as me. It came flying down out of the muck and stink and smoke of Dunkirk that was overhead. It was white with black wings, and it circles us like a blooming dive bomber.
We was roasting on the beach between Dunkirk and La Penny, and offshore is the Kentish Maid, a ruddy excursion scow waiting to take us off. And out of the smoke comes this blooming goose, circling round us, trapped on the beach. A blooming omen, I says. And then he comes.
Who comes?
Him that saved the lot of us. Into the shallows he sailed as cool as you please in a blooming little sailboat. Through a boil of machine gun bullets and diving stookers, never giving him no mind, he didn't. Sailing between the shells, right past a burning destroyer. Little dark man with a beard, blooming claw for an hand and an ump on his back. I can take 7 at a time, he says.
I can take 7 at a time!
And we waded out to where he was. And this goose honking all the time. And him at the tiller looking up and grinning at her like he'd known her a lifetime. Well, he brings us out to the Kentish Maid and turns around and goes back for another load. I don't know how many trips he made, but he brought us all off that particular stretch of hell without the loss of a man. And then he sails back toward Dunkirk, and the bird with him, flying round the boat like a white angel against the smoke.
Frithla had remained alone at the lighthouse, wandering through the storerooms and examining the wonderful paintings within them. Among these, she found the picture that Riada had painted of her from memory so many years ago when she was still a child, and the things she saw in it stirred her as nothing had ever done before. For much of Riada's soul had gone into it. She knew that Riada would not return. And so when she heard the high-pitched, well-remembered note of the snow goose crying from the heavens, it brought no instant of false hope to her heart. But the sight, the sound, and the solitude surrounding her broke the dam within her and released the surging, overwhelming truth of her love. Let it well forth in tears. But the snow goose didn't come to earth this time. It only skimmed low and then soared up again, flew in a wide, graceful spiral around the old lighthouse, and then began to climb. But Frithla didn't see the snow goose. She saw the soul of Riada, taking farewell of her before departing forever. She stretched her arms up into the sky and stood on tiptoe, crying,
Godspeed. Godspeed.
Thank you, Jane Cowell, for a magnificent performance. And you, Paul Gallico, for a beautiful and sensitive story of a man who counted his personal happiness and well-being as nothing in the face of an opportunity to serve his country. And now, one more thing, the most important thing. We in America are at war. We need money to win that war, and that's your job. Buy defense bonds and stamps. Buy them often and regularly. Budget a part of your income every week. Join the Treasury payroll savings plan wherever you work. Defense bonds and stamps are your way of investing in the future of America. Your future. It's your country. Keep it yours.
The United States Treasury Department thanks the distinguished artists who donated their talents to this performance. Miss Jane Cowell for her magnificent interpretation of Paul Gallico's story of the Snow Goose, Mr. Gallico for his use of the material, and Frederick March for playing the part of Riada. The orchestra and chorus were under the direction of Al Goodman. Writing by Hal Block, John Latouche, and Malcolm Meacham. Production by William A. Bacher. This is Larry Elliott speaking.
Excuse me. Hello, Daddy.
Helen, huh? How'd you know it was me?
Well, who else calls at this time? What's up?
I can't get down there now, John.
Why?
I haven't had any dinner and Virago went out.
Virago?
My wife.
Oh.
She went to a book review. kids are screaming and the house is a mess. I'm going to have to make myself something to eat and put the children to bed.
Okay, Daddy.
I'll see you later. Goodbye.
Goodbye. I'd give $8,000 to meet poor Daddy's wife. Oh, well.
Come here, Snooks.
Yes, Daddy.
Who put that thing in the living room?
What thing?
The thing in the middle of the floor. What is it?
Looks like a tent.
It is a tent.
Yeah.
Made from my best bed sheets. Who put it up?
Do you know those soldiers who live in the tents on top of the hill, Daddy?
I've seen them.
Well, they didn't have room enough up there. So...
Snooks! You're not going to tell me the soldiers pitched a tent on my living room floor.
Ain't I?
You're most certainly not.
Well, you can't say I wasn't going to.
Now, don't be impudent.
No, Daddy.
Who helped you put that tent up? Did Robespierre help you?
No, Daddy. He done it all by himself.
Oh, don't pass the buck, Snooks.
Why?
Because he's too little. Besides, he told me you did it.
He's just passing the bunk, Daddy. I didn't do it.
Oh, no. He also said there was a little boy here with you. Was Red here, Snooks?
Red who?
Now, you know very well who I mean. Was he here?
Yes, Daddy. He built the tent.
Oh. And, you didn't do anything?
No, I only did the cooking, Daddy.
Cooking? Where?
Inside the tent.
Oh, no. No! You didn't build a fire on that rug.
Didn't I?
Oh. I'm afraid to look under that tent. If that carpet is ruined, Snooks, I'll...
It was only a make-believe fire, Daddy. I didn't light it.
Oh, thank heaven. Now I can look.
Yeah.
Well, where'd you get this firewood?
It ain't firewood, Daddy. It's only make-believe.
Where did it come from?
Red chopped up a chair.
Chair? Which chair?
It was no good, Daddy. It was the old broken-down chair you got from Grandpa.
Oh, my Chippendale. Why, that was an heirloom. A museum piece worth hundreds of dollars.
Why?
Because it was so old and broken.
Well, it's more broken now, Daddy.
Oh, it's destroyed, you little vandals. Don't ever let me catch you bringing that ruffian in this house again, you hear me?
Well, we was playing George Washington, and he pretended the chair was a cherry tree.
Why should you pick today to play George Washington?
Oh, Daddy.
Oh, what are you laughing at?
Well, it's Washington's birthday, ain't it?
No, it isn't. It's Lincoln's birthday.
Yeah?
Yes. Washington's birthday isn't until, well, it's sometime next month, I think. Now, you'll help me clean up this mess as soon as I've eaten.
I'll get you some to eat, Daddy.
Never mind, I'll get it myself.
No, there's nothing in the icebox, Daddy. But here's some nice frankfurters, and I'll cook them for you.
Frankfurters? Why, these are empty skins. Where's the insides?
I threw them away.
What for?
Well, Mommy told me to fry them like fish.
Well?
Well, I seen Mommy clean out the fish and throw away
You don't clean out frankfurters.
Why?
Oh, let me get something out of the icebox.
No, wait a minute, Daddy. Now, how about a nice piece of sponge cake? Here.
That's a strange-looking sponge cake.
There was only 2 sponges in the bathroom. So then I used wash rags.
Wash rags?
No good?
Get out of my way and let me get some food out of this icebox.
Oh, please, Daddy.
Look out. Well.
Hello, Mr. Higgins. Cold day, ain't it?
Red, what are you doing in this icebox?
He was warm, Daddy.
Come out of there at once.
Yes, sir. Well, I think I'll be running...
Stay here.
Yes, sir. Would you like some ice cubes?
Where did they come from?
I filled his pockets with water before he got in the box.
How can 2 children be so insane?
I don't know.
Get those wet clothes off at once, Red, and get in a hot tub.
A bath? What did you have to take a
He might get pneumonia from the sudden change of temperature.
Oh, I'd rather get back in the icebox.
Here, rub yourself with this towel. Your lips are blue.
Is he blue all over?
Yes.
I want to see.
Snooks? I'll give you what you deserve in a minute. Why was this boy in the icebox in the first place?
On account of the pie we made from the cookbook.
Pie?
Yeah. It said make the dough, then set in the icebox for 10 minutes.
Yeah, I sat there for 20. Is the pie finished, Snooks?
Yeah. But it looks kind of funny. Taste it, Daddy.
I will not. Besides, I hate lemon meringue pie.
This ain't lemon meringue pie.
And what's that yellow stuff on top?
Well, it got burnt. So I put on some ungatine. Taste it, Red.
Well, not me. I'd like to get out of here.
I know you would. But there's a little explaining to do, my son.
Is he your son, Daddy?
No, he's not my son.
Why?
Because I've got one son who gives me enough trouble. At least I had a son when I left this morning. Where is he?
Tell him, Red.
No. You tell him, Snooks.
Now, where's Robespierre? Hurry up, one of you talk.
Well,
I thought you seen him and he told you Red was here.
I didn't see him. I only guessed it.
Well, then guess where Robespierre is.
I'm not guessing anything. What have you done with the child, you bluebeards?
Huh? Well, we washed the tomatoes off him and put him to sleep.
Tomatoes?
Yeah, and I had to change it.
Snooks, I don't care if you had to change his bedding.
I wasn't going to
Never mind that. How did he get tomatoes on him?
Tell him, Snooks.
No, you tell him, Red.
Oh, stop this equivocating. What about the tomatoes?
Well, we wanted to make some money to go to the movies.
Well?
So we stuck Robespierre on a box in the backyard.
Yes.
And we put a picture of Hitler on his face.
Go on.
And we let the kids conk him with tomatoes. For a penny a sock.
Conk him.
Yeah, conk him.
And I suppose you were going to take Robespierre to the movies with you when you had enough pennies.
No, Daddy.
Then what was the poor child to get out of it?
Well, we let him keep the tomatoes.
Yeah, he loves tomatoes, Daddy. Oh, yeah.
I see. And you allow your little brother to be treated in that cruel fashion, eh, Snooks?
Oh, he didn't get hurt, Mr. Higgins. The picture covered him.
Oh.
Yeah.
And where did you get this picture of Hitler?
Well, we didn't have no picture of Hitler. So we used that big one of Mommy's.
Oh, that's different. I wouldn't mind taking a shot at it myself. Nothing. I suppose both of you are prepared to pay the piper for your little escapades today?
Yes, Daddy. Shall I turn over?
Oh, wait a minute, Mr. Higgins. Don't spank her. It was all my fault. Spank me if you have to do any spanking.
No. She's just as much to blame as you are.
Well, no, she ain't honest. I started it. I made the tent and chopped up the chair and thought of the cooking.
No, he didn't. I done it.
Well, that settles it. Turn over. Both of you.
Yes, sir.
Hey, Red,
Yeah?
just holler loud. He don't hurt much.
Are you ready?
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 I've never tried it with two hands before. Here we go.
Here are the top tunes on your Red Hot and Blue Tune Parade. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sound off. Hello, guys. This is Harry Von Zell, and those 4 chords stand for your 4 favorites. The tunes you sounded off for in mail to Armed Forces Radio. So here they are coming at you, and in the number 4 spot today, Tommy Dorsey plays with the Sentimentalists singing Heat Wave.
We're having a heat wave. wave, a tropical heat wave. The temperature's rising, it is surprising. She really can dance, yeah, man. She started a heat wave by letting her feet wave in such a way that the customers say that she really can dance, yeah, man. She wait until you see how the mercury jumps up to 93. Yes, sir, yes, sirree. We're having a heat wave, a tropical heat wave. The temperature's rising, it is surprising. She really can dance, yeah, man, yeah, man.
Orders from Dutch Harbor helped put this one in third place on your tune parade, and here's Joe Stafford to sing Let's Take the Long Way Home.
Let's take the long way home. Let's look for the long way home. And on the way let's pretend that this wonderful life won't end. Through Asia would be much too soon. We'll circle once around the moon. Our dreamboat will carry us across the foam. We'll take the long way, make sure it's the long way. Let's take the long way home. Shall we fly through the night? Shall we dream as we go? See the star on your right, see the pond down below. The whole trip, it appears, only takes a minute. If you're in the mood to roam, then let's take the long way If you're in the mood to roam, then let's take the long way home.
And now for your daily special. Having heard from the other Dorsey brother, what do you think of Jimmy's arrangement of This I Love Above All?
Our
I love the magic of the moon on the rise. And I'm a fool about the stars in the sky. But oh, the starlight in your eyes, darling, this I love above all. I love the music at the end of the day, the cricket calling and the breeze on its way. But oh, the music when you say, darling, this I love above all. I can't get over the spell of the thunder, when all at once a million drums begin to beat. I can't get over this wonderful wonder, that sweet excitement every time we meet. I love the feeling of the wind and the rain, that lovely feeling that no words can explain. But every time we kiss again, darling, other wonders seem small. Darling, this I love above all. I love the feeling of the wind and the rain, that lovely feeling that no words can explain. But every time we kiss again, darling, other wonders seem small. Darling, this I love above all.
You sounded off for an old-timer, so B. Wayne is going to sound off with the tune The Mail Made Number 2. Here it is, Stormy Weather.
Don't know why there's no sun up in the sky, stormy weather, since my man and I ain't together. He's raining all the time. Life is bare, gloom and misery everywhere, stormy weather. Just can't get my poor self together. I'm weary all the time, so weary all of the time. When he went away, the blues walked in and met me. If he stays away, oh, rock and steer will get me. All I do is pray the Lord above will let me walk in the sun once more. Can't go on. Everything I had is gone. Stormy weather, since my man and I together. It's raining all think I'm gonna die. Come on home and put that sun back in the sky.
And that was B. Wayne, who looks very cute in galoshes, singing Stormy Weather. Well, now get ready for number one in your favorite four. It's Bob Crosby playing Perdido. Yes, sir, that was Bob Crosby and his swell band playing Perdido. Perdido's Spanish, you know. It means you take a bird and dido it, and there you got it. That's what it is, all over the place. Well, here I am talking my head off, and it's time to go. This is Harry Von Zell saying so long for now, reminding you to get yourselves busy and mail a lot of requests in to Sound Off, Armed Forces Radio, Los Angeles, USA. We're right here waiting for your orders. We'll fill them if you just send them in. This is Sound Off. This is the Armed Forces Radio Service.
Tropical heat wave. The temperature's rising, it is surprising. She really can dance, yeah, man. Started a heat wave by letting her feet sway. And in such a way that the customers say that she really can dance, yeah, man. She wait until you see how Mercury jumps up to 93, yes.
The Civilian Defense Council of City College presents today the third of a series of radio discussions on the general subject, The Democracies Will Win. The talk this afternoon deals with the tools of victory, manpower and machine power. And the speaker is Professor Bernhard Osterlenk of the Department of Economics, who analyzed in a recent book the importance of skill and technology. Professor Osterlenk.
What makes the President's breathtaking defense production program less fantastic in its magnitude is the breathtaking achievement towards defense during 1941, a year when we were not at war, when we were still manufacturing automobiles and building skyscrapers, when the country stood before the world cataclysm confused, frustrated, and impotent, beleaguered by isolationists, fifth columnists, racialists, defeatists, and other divisive influences. It seemed that a mighty nation had lost its power to act. But the political impotence could not check the industrial preparation for the coming conflict. The 1941 achievements for defense are stupendous, measured by any yardstick. They give an inkling of what bad news is in store for Honorable Hirohito and Herr Hitler in 1942 and 43, now that the country has decided to substitute for its leisurely pace an all-out defense program. The 1941 defense front, besides including an arsenal, extended the protective arm of the United States through lease-lend activity to the United Nations, hampered the Axis powers economically by the blacklist and the freezing orders, accumulated stockpiles of strategic materials, promoted the ever-normal granary for food and fiber, created new defense activities in Latin American countries through the loans of the export-import banks and along a wide front prepared for the conflict. But let us first glance at the arsenal. In terms of funds appropriated and amounts contracted, the country must now digest figures of unparalleled magnitude. Almost $115 billion had been appropriated by the end of January against a total cost of World War I, including loans to the Allies, of about $27 billion. From July 1940 to December 1941, direct disbursements of the Treasury on all types of armaments have been $14.5 billion. To this must be added the loans and grants made through the RFC, the Maritime Commission, and other government agencies, and also the defense expenditures of foreign governments in the United States. These total closely to $20 billion for expenditures already made. In January 1942, defense expenditures exceeded $2 billion just for 1 month, and within a few months, we expect expenditures to reach the tremendous amount of $1 billion a week. Translating dollars into defense materials, potential and actual, we again come across figures which are breathtaking in their magnitude. The 1937 steel production of 50 million tons has been stepped up to 86 million tons during 1941. By itself, more than the combined production capacity of all lands now under Axis control. According to the Iron Age, this United States steel production contrasts with the maximum of all of the Axis countries in Europe and Japan of 49 million tons, the United States total of 86 million tons, plus that of Russia, United Kingdom, Canada, and other allied countries, makes 128.9 million tons. New highs have been reached in the production of electric power, coal, oil, copper, zinc, lead, and aluminum. Not only has domestic production of these raw materials been stepped up sharply, but in spite of shipping difficulties, imports of 10 essential raw materials increased from 2 million tons in 1938 to 6.5 million tons in 1941, an increase of 200%. The percentage increases in imports of some of the raw materials are bauxite, 195%, chrome, 240%, manganese, 136%, mica, 88%, copper, 205%, cork, 103%, graphite, 639%, rubber, 145%, tin, 279%, and wools, 853%. These are the figures for raw commodities. When we seek to convert them into actual units produced, the comparative figures again reveal our potential productive power. Take the production mostly in the public mind, that of military aircraft production. In 1937, we produced 949 aircrafts. In 1941, 20,000. The 20-fold increase in production in 5 years only shows the quantity increase. It does not show the astounding increase in quality, the larger, swifter, higher flying, and better equipment of these planes. On the basis of these increases, another threefold increase in 1942 is entirely probable, now that production of automobiles and other civilian equipment is severely limited. In January, a Treasury leaflet reported that more than 2,000 military aircraft planes are being produced monthly. Shipbuilding on an unprecedented scale is underway. The Office of Facts and Figures reports that 968 naval ships are now under construction in 11 government shipyards and 110 private shipyards. Of these 968, a total of 135 combat ships, 500 auxiliaries, and small ships were completed in 1941. The American strength in major combat ships as of October 1941 total 344, but there are in the building an additional 347. A new Navy, doubling the present Navy, is in the building. The tempo of production of auxiliary merchant ships reached one completed ship each day during the last month of 1941, and is expected to be double that by the end of 1942. This rate of production is the more remarkable when it is remembered that from 1922 to 1935, not a single cargo vessel was built in the United States for overseas or foreign trade. Vying with the aircraft industry in unparalleled increase in production is the tool industry. Normal tool production of 25,000 units was increased to about 200,000 units, an 800% increase. These figures do not reveal the improvement in speed, power, efficiency, and precision. The average 1941 machine tool is probably 3 times as productive as the average machine tool of 1939. The industry employed 37,000 workers in 1939 and more than 100,000 in 1941. It must be re-emphasized that these production figures are for 1941, when we were at least technically at peace, and when the war effort was merely a byproduct of business as usual. During 1941, we produced for civilian demand almost 5 million automobile units, and new building construction reached the highest figures since 1929, to give only 2 illustrations. But in 1942, automobile production is to be reduced to about 500,000 units for defense needs, 1/10 of the 1941 production. And all government budgets, such as the capital budget for New York State or New York City, have eliminated new building constructions. Private industry is also contracting production for all civilian needs and is increasingly applying its huge productive facilities to war needs. With this change in aim, the proposed production program of President Roosevelt, fantastic in its magnitude, seems entirely probable and feasible. That program provides this year 60,000 planes, next year 125,000 planes. This year 45,000 tanks, next year 75,000 tanks. This year 20,000 anti-aircraft guns, next year 35,000 anti-aircraft guns. This year 8 million tons of merchant shipping, next year 10 million tons. This is a production program that outproduces many times the capacity of the world. The Office of Facts and Figures asserts that in 1942 alone, we will produce as many tanks and planes as Hitler did in all the years before 1939, when he was preparing for world conquest. Our labor power behind the military front will prove adequate. German military authorities estimate that modern warfare demands 10 workers behind every soldier to supply munitions, tanks, airplanes, food, clothing, and other goods to the military arm as well to the civil population. From the standpoint of sheer numbers, a 5 million men army will require 50 million workers. Not only is such a labor force available, but it should be remembered that American workers have at their disposal power equipment of over 2,000 kilowatt hours per worker. The German worker has about 700 kilowatt hours, the Italian worker about 250, and the Japanese about 200. In brief, it is not an idle boast to say that an American worker is twice as productive as the German worker and 4 to 5 times as productive as the Italian or Japanese worker. This applies not merely to our mass production industrial workers, but also to agricultural producers who are using power equipment in farm production. The addition in power enables American workers to increase enormously the mining of ore, to smelt it, refine it, roll it, process, and fabricate more equipment, and to transport and move more goods. It is well that we know our strengths. We need not fear any foe now that we are united in an all-out effort to which every American is to make his contribution. Our gigantic productive capacity will place at the disposal of our fighting forces modern and adequate equipment to conserve life and manpower and assure victory. Lack of unity of purpose, overconfidence that slows down an all-out effort, and panicky fear engendered by defeatists might endanger victory. Another fear that gnaws at the vitals of American defense is the fear of domestic food and consumer good shortages. If that fear is translated into hoarding, there is danger of inflation and disaster. Let it be said at the outset that the national defense will demand that we forego the use of many things to which we are accustomed. However, it is also true that unless a hoarding movement gets underway, there will be adequate supplies for all essential needs to promote health and good living. Farmers and producers of consumer goods, like those producing military goods, have stepped up production enormously. The 1941 farm production was the largest on record. Essential foods and fibers in unprecedented quantity are stored away in the ever-normal granary. Cheese, milk, pork, beef, and poultry production in 1941 were from 5 to 20% above the preceding year, and in all cases are at record high levels. Fruits and vegetable production are at the highest level in the history of the country. Here again, nothing but panicky fear of shortages, panicky buying and hoarding, and waste are the factors that may lead to inflation and disastrous impediments of the victory effort.
Professor Bernhard Osterlenk of the Department of Economics at City College has just concluded a talk on the tools of victory, the third in a series entitled The Democracies Will Win, and given under the auspices of the Civilian Defense Council of City College. The professor and his colleagues who take part in the broadcasts have kindly consented to answer questions. So if you have any questions, please address them to this station or to Civilian Defense Council, City College, 139th Street and Convent Avenue, New York. Tune in again next Thursday at 4:45 when Professor Milton Offutt will speak on naval and air power. This is the Municipal Broadcasting System.
Control. Well, Mr. and Mrs. Marsh are so sorry it involved the aces in the stolen bracelet case that they want to make amends. Mrs. Marsh is going to introduce Jane into her society crowd, and Mr. Marsh tipped Mr. Race off that the city is going to buy a certain piece of property for a housing project. What Jane and Mr. Race don't know is that Mr. Marsh, who is a city alderman, owns this piece of property and is using Mr. Race as a blind. It's the next morning at Mr. Race's office now. He calls to his secretary. Listen.
Miss Wilson, bring your notebook in for some letters, please.
Yes, sir. I'll bring it right in, sir.
Oh, what? Jane!
April Fool.
Well, what are you doing downtown at this time of day?
Oh, I've been downtown all morning. Why, it's noon. Miss Wilson went out to lunch.
She went to lunch without saying anything to me?
No, I told her I'd tell you. I want to talk to you.
Well, as long as you're here, I want to talk to you, too.
No, me first now. I've been downtown shopping, and I'm going to buy a lot of things.
Well...
Oh, yes? Do you know how long it's been since I got a new dress?
Wait a minute. I didn't say anything.
Oh.
You must have been rehearsing a little argument all the way up here. Were you?
Well, I am going to buy a lot of new things. I got to thinking about Mrs. Marsh and meeting all those new people and everything, and the first thing I thought of was...
What will I wear?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I looked through everything I've got, and it's awful. I'd like to throw away everything I have and start over from the beginning.
With rompers, you mean?
Yes, with... What? Now, wait a minute, dear. I don't understand this. Why don't you just come right out and say I can't buy it? You never acted like this before. I don't know what to say when you act like
took the
this.
wind out of your sails, huh? Here you come here ready for a big argument. You've got all the answers ready, and there's no argument. Well, you can go right ahead and buy anything you want.
You feel all right, dear?
Sure, I feel fine. I understand what you mean. This new crowd that Mrs. Morris is introducing you to, and you have to look the part. Of course, there's a limit to what you...
Well, now that's more like you used to be. What do you mean, a limit?
Well, what do you mean? You're buying a lot of things. How much...
Well, in the first place, I saw 4 hats I liked. I told the girl to hold them till this afternoon. I'd let her know.
4 hats? You're letting your money go to your head, aren't you?
Well, they go with different things I'm buying and some things I've got.
Oh, I see.
Then it's all right about the hats. Now, there's an evening dress. With sleeves to about here of ermine. It's black velvet, and you should see it on me. It fits like a glove on the wall. I had all I could do to keep from wearing it right out.
No, I wouldn't advise wearing an evening dress out at this hour of the day.
Then it's all right about that, too?
Well...
Oh, yes? You know the last time I bought an evening dress...
Wait a minute, Jane. You're jumping at conclusions. I'm not objecting.
Well, what's going on here? If you're kidding me, dear, I'll
I'm
never
not
forget you.
kidding. I think you might have a few new things. I can see that you'll need them. And I want you to keep up appearances, especially the way the Marshes have been taking a sort of a fancy to it. And that's what I want to talk to you about.
What?
Well, I seldom, if ever, talk business with you. Sit down.
Well, what is it, dear?
Well, this deal Mr. Morris put me next to, it's about the biggest thing I've ever tackled.
Aren't they sweet?
Yeah.
The way she came over and apologized and said she wanted me to be with her all the time and go and visit.
Well, what about him? Imagine him coming over here and tipping me off to a deal this big? Now, that's what I want to talk to you about, Jane.
All right.
Now, well, in order to tie up this piece of property on an option, I'm going to have a lot of cash, all I can lay my hands on. In fact, it's going to take about everything we've got, including a mortgage on the house. Now, the chances are about 1 in a million of not being able to sell this property to the city after I get it. In fact, less than that. And I stand to make close to $25,000 when I do sell it. So you see, it's not much of a gamble. I mean, I don't stand to lose anything, and we have everything to gain. Now, I just want you to know that we're going into hock with everything we possess. And I want to get your okay. I want to feel that in case that 1 in a million chance happens, that something happens that we don't sell the property, that you knew all about it and I had your okay to go ahead with it. Well, Jane.
What?
Well, are you thinking about this?
Well, kinda. I was thinking more of that evening dress.
Isn't that awful?
But I heard you, dear. I think I know what you mean. Of course, I don't understand a lot about business. You never tell me anything. Why do you do it now?
Because this is going to take every cent we've got. Because I want you to realize that if this deal doesn't go through, we're flat broke.
Broke?
Yes. But as I say, there's hardly a chance of that. In fact, it's even silly to think about it. But I have to face facts, and I'd like for you to face them with me, especially one that's this important. I want you to know just how we stand on this. What do you say?
Well, dear, I always say a wife takes the bitter with the better. When things were bitter...
Yes, I know. It's easy to say that now the things are going along all right. But will you say it if something goes wrong and we lose out? There's always that chance, no matter how slight, you know.
Well, I don't know just what you want me to say. I don't understand about business. I always leave those things to you. You know that. I don't know what you want me to say now.
Well, I just want to feel that it's okay with you, that it's your back of me.
Oh, sure. You can do anything you want to. It'll come out all right, dear.
Yeah, I feel it will. I feel sure it will.
Sure it will.
And you understand that this is taking everything we've got, and I'm going into it with your permission and your knowledge, and I don't want any back talk later on.
Oh, you know I'm not one of those I'll say so.
Yeah. Of course, there's every chance of my making a young fortune here. About $25,000, you know.
25? How much?
Well, I told you before.
Well, I didn't hear you. $25,000?
That's right. That's why I feel so good about this thing that Mr. Marsh put me next to.
Why, that's like winning a sweepstake.
A sweepstake? Yes, it's something like
Why, we'll be sitting on Pretty Street, and here I'm asking you if I can buy 4 hats. Why, I can buy 100 hats.
Yes, now, Jane, but there...
Of course, I know I'm counting my chickens before they fall asleep, but if we can make $25,000...
Hey, wait a minute. You're running away with yourself. Now, take it easy.
Am I intruding?
What? Oh, Mr. Morris.
Oh, Mr. Morris, hello.
Come in, Mr. Morris.
Thanks. Well, I didn't expect to find you here, Mrs. A.
Well, I just happened to be downtown shopping.
How are you, Mr. Morris? Have a chair.
Thank you. I just popped in to take you to lunch. There's some things I'd like to talk over with you.
There's nothing wrong.
No. To the contrary. Things look very promising.
Well,
excuse me, can I use this phone, dear? I want to call that girl up and tell her to hold those for me.
Use that phone in the outer office, Jane. Miss Wilson's...
all right. Excuse me, please.
Well, you're looking quite radiant this morning, Mrs. Ace, if I may say so.
All right.
Mrs. Ace has been shopping. All women look radiant when they're shopping.
Yes, I just bought everything I could find. How's Mrs. Morris?
Oh, fine. She's quite enthusiastic about you, Mrs. Ace.
Oh, yes. Well, I think she's just awfully sweet. Did she tell you about how she's going to introduce me to all her friends and everything?
Yes, I believe she did. You're going to like that crowd, too. They're all such good sport.
What I was surprised about was the work they're doing.
Work? What work?
That's just what I said, dear. When Mrs. Morris told me, I said, what work? I didn't know they did anything but go to each other's house and play bridge or serve sandwiches and things. But she told me that what they're doing. About the poor people and everything.
People? What?
Yes, Mary's got a hand at charity. A social betterment, she calls it.
Yes, that's what she called it.
In fact, her entire crowd has gone in for it.
For what?
Oh, to solve the problems of the poor, you know.
Yes, like the new apartments they're going to build for the poor people. We're going to see to it that they build the right kind on the right place, so the children can have some place to play and the apartments will cool in the summer and vice versa.
What is this?
Not like those Old Testament houses they have to live in now. Oh, it's going to be more fun. Well, I've got to get that girl. Excuse me, please.
Certainly. See you before you go?
Yes, I'll be back in just a minute. I just want to make sure she'll hold those hats for me.
Say, what was that you were talking about?
That, Mr. Ace, is the agitation I've been telling you about.
Yes, but my wife, she's not going to be part of the agitation, is she?
Well, what of it? My wife is, too.
Your wife?
Of course. Gives her something to do. Haven't got a chance to win. The city knows these women are agitating against using this piece of property for these apartments. The women think it's on the wrong side of the railroad tracks. They talk of choosing it more in the heart of the city. All that. Don't let that bother you. There's always agitation like this when the city starts a project of this sort.
Yes, but if I'm going to tie up all my...
Oh, you're not going to let what these women do work for you, are you?
But why don't you tell your wife to get the women to lay off? She's a sort of a leader amongst them, isn't she?
What good would that do? Some other group would agitate.
But they can arouse public sentiment, can't they?
Mr. Ace, I've been in politics in this city for some years now. I'm used to public sentiment being aroused. It doesn't mean it's changed. I tell you, it's definitely settled that the city will buy this property. And all the arguments and agitation my wife's club will put up won't change it.
I can't get over Jane being in this thing.
Mary felt she could meet her friends through the...
Yes, but, well, does Mrs. Marsh know the city is definitely set to buy this lot regardless of what she and her club will do?
Well, frankly, no.
What?
I don't discuss these things with her any more than you could with the state. And they don't understand these things. Of course, they might have some argument on their side. It might be better to build on some other site, but it's impractical. I know just what the city can spend without going into debt any more than we have to. This town can't stand any higher price property than this one.
Well, $150,000 isn't exactly chicken.
Yes, but if we were to listen to these women, we'd have to spend twice that for the location they have in mind. Oh, now forget about it. Let them have their fun and don't pay the slightest attention to it.
Yes, I know, but it's going to seem kind of strange with me trying to go for the biggest deal I ever made and my own wife, a member of a woman's club, that's trying to spoil it.
Yes, it is strange, isn't it? But don't let it worry you. Now let's go to lunch. I want to talk details to you. Exactly how you go about getting this property. And that's another point. With the women fighting against it, it brings the price down. Makes it look as if the city is not going to build there, see?
Yes, that's something in favor of
course it is. As this isn't news to you, I told you there was some agitation against this piece of ground.
Yes, but you didn't say your wife was leading it, and I didn't know that Jane was going to be in on it. Oh, but I can see your point. I guess it's safer to have this group doing the agitating rather than some other group that we didn't know about.
Exactly.
Well, I'm going, dear. I called it.
Yes, Jane. Go ahead. Mr. Marsh and I have some things to talk over.
Goodbye, Mrs. Ace. It's nice seeing you again.
Mr. Morris, say hello to Mrs. Morris for me, and I just can't wait till I see her again.
I guess she'll be calling you very soon, Mrs. Ace. But she'll be having one of her club meetings to solve the problems of the poor, you know.
Well, a poor excuse is better than none.
Yeah, yes it is.
Jane is really going in for social work, we can see that. and Mr. Race hopes to put across the biggest deal of his life, in spite of King's work. We'll learn more about that when next we meet the Easy Aces.
Fiery horse with the speed of light, the cloud of dust, and a hearty hi-yo Silver, the Lone Ranger. With his faithful Indian companion Tonto, the masked rider of the plains led the fight for law and order in the early western United States. The stories of his strength and courage, his daring and resourcefulness, have come down to us through the generations, and nowhere in the pages of history can one find a greater champion of justice. Return with us now to those thrilling days of yesteryear. From out of the past come the thundering hoofbeats of the great horse Silver. The Lone Ranger rides again.
Come on, Silver! There's danger on the trail ahead! We've got to hurry! Oh, Silver!
When the secretary opened the door of the study, he could see the president at his desk, a hand shading his eyes, the paper still in front of him. The secretary murmured to himself.
Half an hour. He hasn't moved since I left him.
He walked across the room to the president's side.
Mr. President.
Names, Carter. Nothing but names.
They're amazing names, sir. What a bombshell it would be if you had made that letter public.
We can't do that. Not without evidence.
The girl is here, sir.
She is. Then show her in at once.
Yes, sir.
The secretary left the room, and when he returned, the slim figure of a girl followed him. She sat at the left of the president. The light from the desk lamp fell on her slim white hands, but left her face in shadow.
We'll get to the point. You've seen this list.
Yes, sir.
John Kimberly, one of the biggest railroad builders in the country. Jacob Webster, with a fur empire that's nearly as large as the Astors. Benjamin Steele. Well, his power is a little more obscure.
He holds the cattle market in the palm of his hand.
I wouldn't go quite that far, but he tries to control it, that's certain. Bronson Page, politician, financier, army contractor.
It's shameful.
And Clark Drexel, gold and silver. What do you think of it?
I can't understand anyone being a traitor, but these men, when one thinks how much this country has given them, wealth and position and... Well, it's unbelievable.
It's true, though. We must face the fact.
I know.
This paper's been on my desk for 3 days now. Have you thought it strange nothing's been made public?
No, sir.
You realize we can say nothing. A name isn't proof.
I realize. But at least you know who they are. You can get proof.
How? Can you answer me that?
No, sir.
It must be done, and it shall be done. But how? They know their organization has been destroyed, so they'll get rid of every scrap of evidence that ties them up with it. How can we make them pay for what they've done and what they tried to do?
I have an idea, Mr. President.
By all means, let's have it.
These men are unscrupulous. They won't change. And if it's impossible to convict them as leaders of the Black Arrow, we might be able to give them enough rope and let them hang themselves for some other crime.
That's possible. Carter, get Jameson.
Yes, sir.
Mr. President.
Yes?
Jameson may be the man to handle this in the East, but what about the West? Each of the 5 have big interests out there, and that's where they spend a great deal of their time. Jameson would be helpless west of the Mississippi.
I don't think we have to discuss the man for the job in the West.
Glad you agree with me.
I'd like to talk with him again. How soon can it be arranged?
You'd have to give me a month.
Very well. A month from today in St. Louis, I'll meet the Lone Ranger.
And so it happened that a private car was drawn up on a siding outside of St. Louis. Shortly after dark, a masked man reined up half a mile away. He left his white horse in the care of the Indian who had been riding with him, and then started toward the train. He slipped like a shadow through the trees, past an infantry encampment and onto the tracks. Carter was pacing up and down outside the private car when suddenly...
Who's that? Is that the guard? No sentry was to be posted this close to...
Not the sentry.
Oh, you've come. The president is waiting for you. Mr. President, the Lone Ranger.
That will be our plan. In a way, this would be more difficult than rounding up the members of the Black Arrow. They had placed themselves outside the law, and you could use the army and the local sheriffs against them. As far as we can prove, these 5 are honest and public-spirited citizens. So you must work alone until you obtain the evidence we need.
I understand.
Let's take the names one by one.
I know where John Kimberly is.
You do?
Yes. He's in Omaha.
That's strange.
Well, he's a railroad man.
But it's the Southern and Western that's building out of Omaha. He has no connection with that.
He may want one.
Yes, that's true. He tried to get the franchise, but Miles and Warren won out. And John Kimberly doesn't like to be beaten.
I'll start with him, Mr. President.
There couldn't be a better choice. Your task is a hard one, but remember, the future of the West may depend on you bringing these men to justice.
John Kimberly and his right-hand man, Bill Haywood, had followed the Missouri to the north until they reached the Niagara. Then they headed west until Gene Cardwell's lumber camp was reached. There they introduced themselves to the young lumbermen and were made welcome.
It's a pleasure to meet you, Mr. Kimberly.
Make it John, please.
Oh, yes, sir. Naturally, I've heard a lot about you, but, well, I have to admit it's a surprise.
What is?
Seeing you out here in the wilderness.
Why, Gene, this country's practically civilized. When I first came out here, it was really a wilderness. I'm an old-timer, you know.
And I'll match your knowledge of the West against anyone's.
Oh, you can't go that far, Bill.
Me, I'm from Michigan. Most of my crew is, too. You know, maybe you could give me some good advice.
I got one piece of advice I hope you take.
What's that?
Sell out your contract to me.
What?
I want to buy all your equipment and give you a bonus besides.
Oh, no. I couldn't sell.
Why not?
Well, I stand to make about $20,000 on the job. You wouldn't give me that much of a bonus.
I'd give you $10,000, and you wouldn't be taking any risk.
Well, I've got 2 months to get the logs down to Omaha.
And if you don't?
Well, that's plenty of time.
If you don't, you lose money on the job. My way, you can be sure of a profit.
Would you mind answering a question?
Not at all.
Well, a logging contract like this must be pretty small potatoes for you. Why are you interested?
Well, that's a good question.
Let me tell him, John.
Go ahead. Bill knows all about my business, Gene.
You've got to understand how John feels about the Southern and Western first. He's dreamed about this road for a long time, and he's the one who should have got the franchise to build it.
There's just some men I could mention who are better politicians than he is, that's all.
Oh, yes, I know all about the franchise going to Miles and Warren, but I still don't understand.
This road means so much to John that he's just got to have a part in building it.
You can't build a railroad without ties.
So you want to see to it that the logs reach Omaha?
I want that to be my contribution.
I can't sell. This job means too much to me. It isn't just the extra 10,000. Well, that's important, of course, but... Well, maybe I feel the same way about the railroad you do. It's more than just a job. It's doing something big for the whole country. Isn't that the way you feel, John?
Yes, it is. But are you sure you're being wise?
Your offer isn't very wise. No, I can't sell. It's the same way with me as it is with you.
Very well. We won't talk about it anymore.
Sorry you came all the way up here to listen to me say no.
Our trip won't be wasted if you grant me a favor.
What's that?
Let us stay here. Let us help you in any way we can.
You mean...
As interested friends.
Why...
Is that your answer?
I admire you, Mr. Kimberly. It's only a big man who could make an offer like that. You're welcome to stay just as long as you want to.
Well, he's got a good crew.
Yeah.
The boy knows his business, too. He'll deliver the goods.
Sure he will. That's the second raft I've seen start down the river today. Wait till they get working at top speed.
Mm-hmm.
What's 10,000 to you? Why didn't you offer him 20 and get the contract?
For one thing, it might have made him suspicious. Might have made other people suspicious if he talked about it. And what would stop him? I offered all I could.
Maybe.
Miles and Warren, for instance. They know me as a businessman. If I started being charitable, they might even send troops up here.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
But there are other ways. We don't have to be running the job to delay it.
You got any ideas?
It's up to you to work out the ideas. I'm staying here to help Gene.
And when I get hold of something, shall I just go ahead?
No, Bill, I think you'd better tell me all about it first.
Say, look.
Where?
Gene's cabin. There's a girl knocking at the door. Where'd she come from?
We passed a cabin on the high bank.
That belonged to a trapper.
Well, there's no law that says a trapper can't have a family.
Gene's letting her in.
Come on.
What for?
That girl was crying. Something's wrong.
Oh, don't, please. I can't help you if you don't tell me what's the matter.
Anything we can do, Gene?
Well, I don't know. Opened the door and said hello, and this kid started to cry.
Well, what's your name?
Joan,
Where do you live?
our cabin's on the high bank.
What's wrong?
My pa.
What about him? Is he hurt?
No, he swears he's gonna kill you.
Me?
Uh-huh. He says you're cutting down all the trees and driving all the game out of the forest, and he says nobody can take his living away from him like that.
But Joan, he ought to realize that there's no way you can stop progress. If he wants to keep on trapping, you'll have to move farther west.
He's gonna kill you.
Oh, I think I'd better take you home and have a talk with your pa.
No, he swore to shoot the first one of you to come near our place.
This is a fine thing, Joan. What can we do?
Well, nothing much. I'd send the girl home and post a few guards around the camp in case her father tries to carry out his threat.
Oh, wait. I've got to thank her for warning me.
Bill.
Yeah?
This ought to help you. Whatever you decide on could be blamed on the trapper.
Yeah. Anything at all. Even murder.
So there you are. Where you been, Joan?
Nowhere, Pa.
You been up the river.
Well, maybe.
Have you been talking to any of those lumberjacks?
All right, I have.
You what?
I've been talking to the man who runs the camp, and I told him. I told him what you said.
Joan.
So now you can't do it. If anything happens to him, they'll know it was you. They'll come and get you and take you away to jail, and then they'll hang you.
You've done this to your own pa?
But it's just because I love you that I did it.
It's a fine way of showing it.
I don't want anything to happen to you. And I don't want anything to happen to him either. He's a nice man. He talked real kind to me. You can't go gunning for him.
Well, maybe not. Maybe it'd be too risky.
Of course it would. Even if it weren't so wrong and awful.
There's nothing awful about a man protecting his livelihood.
We can move farther west. There's plenty of game there.
No. This is my cabin, and this is my property around here. It's our home, Joan, and this is where we stay.
The curtain falls on the first act of our Lone Ranger story. Before the next exciting scenes, please permit us to pause for just a few moments. Now to continue our story. The Lone Ranger and Tonto reached the Niagara River at a point where the banks were nearly 100 feet high. They could see two men guiding a great raft of logs down the fast-running stream below them.
How far camp now?
I don't know, Tonto. We'll follow the river for another mile or so and then cut back into the forest.
We find spring. We stay there.
Just long enough for you to help me with the disguise. I'm going to ask Gene Cardwell for a job.
That way you find out what Kimberly planned, huh?
He may not be planning anything, but if he wanted to make trouble for the railroad, well, this would be a fine place to start.
Maybe better we turn into forest now.
Why, Kimosabe?
You look by Cottonwood up ahead. Their cabin.
Yes, I see it now. It's almost hidden in the trees. The trapper's cabin.
You want to go find out how far camp?
That might be dangerous.
Oh, me be careful.
All right, then. I'll wait here for you. It would be hard to explain my mask.
Get him up, Scout.
Steady, boy.
Oh, you can't.
You gave him fair warning.
But that man isn't coming from the camp.
Stand back, Joan.
It's an Injun. He's raising his hand. Don't you know what that means, Pa?
It's a trick.
He's friendly.
I swore it. Anybody who sets foot on my property stops lead.
No, Pa, don't. You can't. It's murder. You can't kill a man like that. You killed him. You killed him.
I only aimed to wing him.
Quick, turn him over.
A bullet creased his scalp, that's all. He ain't dead.
We've got to get him in the house and... Pa, look.
A masked man.
You haven't got your rifle.
I got a 6-gun. No,
Pa!
My hand.
Steady, Silver. I'll take that gun.
Oh.
You aren't hurt. Tonto.
Kimosabe.
There now, Tonto. The wound isn't much. We got it taken care of right away.
I got everything you need in the house. I'll get it ready.
You, march on ahead of us. Don't try anything.
I won't.
Come along, Tonto. I'll help you. How do you feel now, Kimosabe?
Tonto feel good.
And we'll get to the bottom of this shooting. What's your name?
Jed Torrance.
Didn't you see Tonto's arm raised?
Yeah, but I
You knew he was friendly and you still shot at him. Why?
It's because of the lumberman, mister. Pa's mad at him, and he swore he'd shoot the first one to set foot on his property.
But Tonto doesn't belong to the lumber camp.
I tried to tell him that.
Hey, mister, you've been calling this Injun Tonto.
Yes?
You call your horse Silver and you wear a mask. You're not an outlaw.
No, I'm not.
Joan, I almost made the worst mistake of my life. This here is the Lone Ranger.
The Lone Ranger?
Oh, I'm sorry, Masked Man. I'll do anything I can to make up for shooting at your friend.
Then answer a few questions, Torrance. Why are you mad at the lumbermen?
What right have they got coming up here, cutting down all the trees and driving all the game away?
You know why they're doing it, don't you?
Sure, for the railroad. Well, the railroad don't mean nothing to me.
You only think it doesn't. When it's finished, you'll be getting a higher price for your pelts. And you won't be paying as much for your supplies.
Eh?
That's true.
This land belongs to me. I got a right to keep folks off it if I want to.
You should give them a warning.
Joan took it on herself to do that the other day. They know how I feel about them. They can stay where they belong.
Just the same, I think you'd better put up a no trespassing sign.
I aim to.
And think twice before you shoot next time. Is your head clear enough to ride, Tonto? And I'll help you out.
Oh, Tonto walk good.
All right, then. Let's go.
Pa, stop him.
Hey, what for?
Call after him.
Masked Man!
Oh, dear.
It's too late. What are you so anxious about?
This ring, Pa. Isn't it beautiful?
Hey, where'd you get that?
The Lone Ranger took it off when he was bandaging Tonto's head. He left it on the table and then he forgot about it.
Oh, that's too bad. But he'll be back for it. He'll remember where he left it.
I hope so.
It was late that night that Bill Haywood entered the cabin he was sharing with John Kimberly. There was a smile of satisfaction on his lips as he sat across the table from the older man.
Well, you seem to be happy.
I am. The boys are here.
Well?
Camped out in the woods.
All right. What have you got in mind?
Blasting powder.
How are you going to use it?
You know where the trapper's cabin is?
Yeah, on the high bank.
Well, the river's cut underneath that bank. And a few charges of blasting powder can send 100 tons of dirt and rocks down into the river. Plenty to dam it, John.
Dam the river?
Well, why not? It's the only way they got to send the logs down to Omaha.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, it's up to you. But I got it all worked out. Just where to place the powder and everything.
Does it have to be right at the spot where the cabin is?
Almost.
What about the trapper and his daughter?
Well, I figured we wouldn't say anything to them at all.
They'd be killed in the blast.
Well, sure they would. They won't be able to talk when they get blamed for it.
If they get blamed for it.
They will be. I already mentioned it to Cardwell that I saw a lot of blasting powder around the cabin. He didn't pay much attention at the time, but he'll remember it all right.
Mm-hmm.
Shall we go ahead?
There's only one thing you must remember, Bill. If anything goes wrong, I had no part in this. I want those logs to get to Omaha on time. And if anybody tries to stop them, I'll have the law on them.
You can have the law on the trapper and his daughter.
If anything goes wrong...
I know. That's what you're paying me for, John. If anything goes wrong, it's me that goes to jail.
Of course, you might not stay there for long.
You'd certainly be slipping if I did.
When will it be?
Just at dawn. We got plenty of time to get everything set.
Go ahead.
Tonto was awakened by Silver's whinny shortly before dawn. When he rolled out of his blanket, he saw the Lone Ranger throwing his saddle on the great white stallion.
You ride plenty early, Kemosabe.
I haven't been able to sleep. Once when I awakened, I thought I heard men moving through the forest a long way off.
Maybe it's animal.
Yes, it's possible.
Where you go?
Back to the Torrance cabin.
Tonto go with you. Here, Scout.
And you better get some more rest, Tonto.
Tonto feel fine.
Very well.
You stand still, Scout. Tonto saddle you.
I know now why I've been uneasy, Kemosabe.
What you mean?
I've lost the ring.
Oh, that's plenty bad.
It's helped us out so many times, I'm beginning to think there's a good luck charm connected with it.
When you have ring last?
I took it off as I was bandaging your wound. I don't remember picking it up again. That's why we're heading for the cabin.
Tonto feel like you do about ring. We get it back plenty fast.
Are you ready?
Me ready.
Steady, boy. Come on, Silver.
Get him up, Scout.
There. That's fine.
Why can't I light the fuse now?
You'll wait until you get a signal from me. I want all the blasts to go off at the same time. We haven't set the one closest to the cabin. You understand?
Yeah.
I'll just wave my arm like this. It'll be light and you can see.
Keno.
Hurry up, Tonto. Steady, Silver.
Oh, Scout.
Steady, boy. It's getting light. I can't be sure, but aren't those men near the cabin?
Maybe so.
What are they working at?
Dig.
I don't like this, Tonto.
Maybe good thing you lose ring. Bring you here in time.
In time for what? That's what we've got to find out.
There, man. Wave arm.
As if he were signaling. He's looking upstream.
And Tonto see man up there. Him run.
Yes, Tonto. A blast. They set a charge of blasting powder over there.
Part of bank fall into river.
That's what they're doing near the cabin, too. They're lighting the fuse. Come on, Silver.
Get him up, Scout.
If it goes off, it'll wreck the cabin.
And kill Trapper and Colonel.
Faster, Silver, faster.
The little group of men near the cabin started to run as the Lone Ranger and Tonto raced toward them. The masked man knew the fuse had been lit, but not for a moment did he stop urging Silver to his greatest speed. Straight toward the sputtering fuse he rode, and at last...
Steady, boy! There. It's out. There's no more danger here.
There are men downriver. Open fire.
They have another charge set. Steady. After them.
Get them up, Scout.
Come on, Silver!
The fuse on the downriver blast was never lit. The outlaws scattered into the woods, but the Lone Ranger caught sight of one of the men just as he was mounting his horse.
Tonto, over there. I know that man. He works for John Kimberly. We've got to catch him.
Get him up, Scout.
All right, boy.
Bill Haywood cut away from his men and tried to lose the masked man and the Indian. He spurred his horse on desperately, but the thunder of hoofs behind him drew closer and closer.
I've got to shoot, but I can't slack up any. Trust to luck. It's no good. I'll stop, then I'll let him have it. Oh, boy. Oh, there.
Bill pulled his mount to a stop. Then he turned in his saddle and raised his arm to fire point blank at the Lone Ranger. But before his finger could squeeze the trigger...
Oh! All right, Silver. Steady, boy.
Oh, Scout, old fellow, hold.
Get the gun, Tonto.
Let me get it.
Well, Haywood, what's the explanation of that blasting powder?
You're the Lone Ranger.
That's right.
Out with it.
I got nothing to say.
You wanted to kill Torrance and his daughter. You wanted to block the river so no more logs should be sent down.
You'll have to prove that.
That won't be hard. We're taking you to the lumber camp. And we're getting Cardwell's men, and we're going after the rest of the crooks. You won't talk. They will.
We got them all rounded up, and they've been talking plenty, masked man. The whole scheme was just like you figured it.
Why them want to kill Trapper?
So he'd be blamed and wouldn't be able to defend himself.
He seems friendly now.
Yeah. He's changed his mind about lumberjacks since we got those crooks.
I think I can leave them in your charge.
They'll get to jail, don't you worry.
That includes you, Haywood.
I got nothing to say.
You might get a lighter sentence if you told us who hired you.
Nobody hired me.
Someone must have.
Then find out for yourself.
I had an idea it might be you, Kimberly.
Masked man, I don't blame you for saying that. Bill's worked for me a good many years, and I've trusted him. We've been very close. It'd be natural for you to assume that I had something to do with this.
Yes, it would.
Believe me, that isn't true. It's hard for me to express myself at the moment. This has been a great shock. My trust in a friend has been destroyed.
A friend? Well, I've been stealing from you for years.
You don't have to make it any worse. It's enough that I found out your true character. I'm going to make it my business to see that you pay the full penalty for your crime.
Take him away, boys.
What is it, Joan?
Here's your ring.
Oh, thank you. You know, this ring saved your life.
Honest?
It's what brought us back to your cabin this morning. I'm more convinced than ever that there's a good luck charm connected with it.
Don't lose it, masked man. You need your luck.
Most people do.
Here, Silver, Kemosabe.
Yes, Tonto. We'll be on our way. Steady, Silver. Steady, boy.
I hope to see you again.
You will, Kimberly. Come on, Silver.
Get him up, Scout. Get him up.
Oh, Silver! Away!
The story you have just heard is a copyrighted feature of the Lone Ranger Incorporated.
and the 13th dark fantasy story by Scott Bishop. W is for werewolf.
Jim Howard, over this way.
Bill Andrews, you old pill roller. Golly, am I glad to see you.
Well, Jim Howard, welcome to Cape Howell. You're just the medicine the doctor ordered.
And you're the doctor. How are you, Bill?
Never better. Say, am I glad to shake hands with you again. You're the same old Jim. 5 years haven't changed you a single bit.
Well, I'm sorry. I can't say the same thing about you. You look tired, almost sick. I say you aren't ill, are you?
Ill? Oh, no. No, I've just been working hard. Not much sleep lately. Come on, I've got a wagon waiting right over here.
Wagon?
Sure, nothing fancy about us. We'll take the wagon to the boat landing, and then we'll row over to my island.
Say, now, wait a minute, Bill. Are you trying to rib me? What do you mean, your island?
Oh, didn't I tell you? I haven't lived in Cape Howell for 3 years. I find it more pleasant and comfortable out on the island.
But what island?
Folks around here have another name for it, but don't mind them if you hear it. I call it échappé.
Say that again, Bill.
Échappé.
Well, what's that, Scandinavian or Esperanto?
French. Come on. Here's the wagon over here. Young John's waiting on the boat landing.
Oh, I say, how is young John?
Jim, I don't know. I'm worried about him. He's having trouble with his studies. Doesn't seem to like books and hates company.
Well, I'd say he's more lonesome than anything else.
It's more than lonesomeness, Bill. Ever since Bill Jr. died, he hasn't been the same.
Angela and I were sorry to hear about Bill Jr. It's pretty sudden, wasn't it?
Yes, pretty sudden. That's the way it is in this country, though. So much fever, so few conveniences. Oh, by the way, you say Angela and the child will be along in a few days?
Oh, yes. You got my wire?
Got it yesterday. I didn't know your sister lived at Lowston.
Oh, yes, she has for years. Angela wants to visit about a week, and then she'll come on down here to Cape Howell by steamer. Oh, incidentally, old man, do you think this country's all right for the baby?
Had her shots, has she?
Oh, yes. Yes, I did everything you suggested in your letter. You know, that letter you wrote almost scared Angela out of coming. She said if it's that dangerous here, she doesn't think we should risk the child's life by bringing her here.
Well, there's no danger at all if the child's been inoculated against the 3 diseases I mentioned.
Well, I took care of that all right. You're sure there's no other danger?
I've taken care of any other danger there might be.
What do you mean?
Just that. There's nothing in the world for you or Angela to worry about. Please believe me, Jim.
Well, all right, old man, all right. Angela and I are on the first vacation we've had since we've been married. And believe you me, we're here to make the best of it.
Good, that's fine. Come on, the wagon's waiting, see? Right over there. Fine country, eh, what, Jim?
Oh, marvelous. We've enjoyed the whole trip so far. Didn't even get seasick on the way across. Not even the baby. And she only a year old.
And say I'm anxious to see that girl. How come you named her Sandra?
Oh, that's one of Angela's favorite names.
Pretty name, I like it.
Oh, this is the blamedest means of transportation I've ever had to endure. I thought you would at least have your own limousine.
No, Jim. I haven't been doing so well lately. I hope you'll be able to put up with what I have to offer you on the island.
Rough and rugged, is it?
Quite. I built the cabin myself. It's not much, but it's comfortable. Oh, by the way, did you bring the books I wrote you about?
Books? Oh, yes, they're in the trunk.
Good.
I must say, that's the strangest collection of books I've ever heard of. What kind of experimenting are you doing on that island anyway?
It's pretty serious, Jim, I assure you.
Well, it must be. I read your books on the way across.
You did?
Yes, indeed. Dr. Elgin Woodward's book on lycanthropy and Henry Joseph McClure's pamphlet on the disease Lumpus vulgaris, and Guy Ender's story, Werewolf of Paris, and 2 other books on werewolves. Can't for the life of me imagine, Andrews, what you want with books like that out here in this wilderness.
All right, Jim, here we are. Oh, John, here's Jim Howard. You remember Mr. Howard, don't you, Johnny?
Well, sure he does. How are you, John, old boy?
All right. Glad to see you, sir.
Oh, I say, where was that old smile I used to see? Here, let me shake your hand.
No, sir. I don't want to shake hands.
Oh, come on now. We're old friends, aren't we?
No, Mr. Howard.
Oh, I say now.
Jim, just a minute.
Let go, Mr. Howard.
There.
Jim.
Oh, there now. Shake just like old friends.
Let go. Let go my hands. Let go.
Jim, please.
I say. The boy's handbill.
Come on, Jim. Into the boat with you. Come along, Johnny. Johnny, get into the boat, son.
Yes, sir.
Come along, Jim. All right, I'm shutting off. All right, Johnny. You want to take the oars for the exercise, or you want me to row? Well, son?
I told him not to shake my hand. I told him, didn't I?
Johnny.
Can I help it? Is it my fault if my hand's all...
Johnny! You want to row or not?
Yes, sir. I'll row.
Okay, son. Up to it.
Johnny, Sonny, if I did something...
Come on. Down to the other end of the boat, will you? Here. Sit here.
I say, Andrews, that boy's hand.
Quiet. He's upset enough.
But, Bill, the palm of Johnny's hand. Good Lord, man. It's all covered with a thick rope of hair.
Okay, Jim. This is your room.
Say, this is fine. You say you built this yourself, Bill?
Yep. Every bit of it. How do you like my island?
Well, I think it's perfect. But pretty inconvenient.
Oh, I don't mind. Sorry we had to arrive here so late. I'll show you around in the morning.
Yes, I'm anxious to see the rest of your place, Bill. I want to talk to you more about your work.
Yes, of course. Tomorrow. It's pretty late now.
Yes, it is late. So I'm afraid I rather bored you, old man, with my chatter at the dinner table.
Oh, Jim, you heathen. You've never bored me a minute in all the time I've known you.
Oh, that man Rayfield of yours is certainly an excellent cook.
Yes? He's an excellent tutor for young Johnny, too. You'll find him quite helpful if you want anything.
Fine.
Oh, by the way, the people in this spot are a superstitious lot, Jim. Don't let them bother you with any of their nonsense.
Nonsense?
Yeah, a silly rot about, things in the night.
What things?
Oh, there's nothing, of course. But they take all sorts of means to ward off, the evil spirits.
Oh, I see.
Here, I'll set this charm here on your desk. You won't be using the desk.
Charm? What charm?
Oh, it's just a simple thing that the people hereabouts always insist on putting in the room in which a person sleeps. Here, these 3 bits of green twigs. 2 of them standing upright, like this. There we have it.
Hey, what is this?
1 cross piece on the uprights, like this. Then a lakeshore pebble. This little bit of charred wood. There you are. Now you're fully protected.
Protected against what?
Why, those evil spirits I was telling you about. And now just forget about them, Jim. I just put the charm here in case Rayfield comes in. He's very superstitious, and he'll never rest until he's made a charm for you himself.
Well, all right, but I still...
Now, just forget all about it. Just a whim of Rayfield's. Good night, Jim.
Night, old man. See you in the morning.
Right. Bright and early. If you need a spare blanket, there's one in the closet there.
Right, Bill. Good night.
Pleasant dreams. A whim of Rayfield's, huh?
3 bits of green twig, lakeshore pebble, and a piece of charred wood. That's a strange combination. To ward off evil spirits, so Bill claims. But what evil spirit? Great horn toads, what's that? What in the world is that? Bill! Bill, I say, Bill, what's that howling?
It is nothing, Mr. Owl.
Huh? Oh, you, Raphael.
Nothing but a wild animal howling in the night.
What? That sounded like a wolf.
Wolf, Mr. Owl?
Yes.
It couldn't have been a wolf. There are no such animals in this country, you know.
I know that, but... There, you hear it?
It will be all right, sir. Did Mr. Andrews give you the charm?
Charm? Oh, yes, the charm.
It will protect you, sir, from anything.
Wait a minute, Raphael, don't go. Just what is this thing I'm being protected from?
Oh, nothing. Nothing, sir, nothing at all. People around these parts are curious lot, that's all. Superstitious, you know, and all that sort of thing. So we humor them by always keeping a charm in the sleeping rooms of our homes.
Yes, but I don't see why you should worry about humoring anybody. Way out here alone like this on this island.
Well, sir, it's just a habit of Mr. Andrews' Araco.
But he said it was you he was satisfying by placing the charm in my bedroom.
Yes, sir. That is, well, what I mean is, sir, I'll best be going. Young Johnny isn't feeling so well tonight. I hope you sleep good, Mr. Howard. And don't worry about the howling. Nothing will harm you.
Don't worry about the howling. That's strange. That howl's coming from the east wing of this cabin. Right over there. By George, I'm going to skirt this place and have a look. Quiet now. Not a sound. What? A light just went on in that room the sound's coming from. That window's heavily barred. And the window glass is frosted and curtained so no one can see inside. The howl is coming from inside that room. Here's the door to the place. Oh, Bill. Bill, are you in there? Bill. Some animal in there, all right. Bill. Andrews, are you in there? Whatever it is, it's trying to get out. Bill. Bill, are you all right? Are you in there, old man? Bill, are you in there? Bill!
Yes, Jim? What is it?
I just wondered if you were all right. I heard that animal howling, and I thought that...
Animal? What animal, Jim?
Don't tell me you didn't hear it.
You weren't by any chance dreaming already, were you, old boy?
But the howling came from inside that room.
Say, you have been hearing things.
I certainly have. Just before you opened the door, I heard an animal sniffing and whining and scratching at the door.
Oh, now, Jim. A joke's a joke.
But I'm not joking.
Well, come on inside and look for yourself, then.
Does anybody use this room?
Certainly it's young Johnny's. He and Bill Jr. had the room together before we lost Bill Jr.
Bill, I'd swear there was an animal in here a moment ago.
Normally, Jim, I'd be a little confused by what you're saying. Well, the long trip, the worry about your baby daughter...
Look, there on the door. Long, deep scratches, like an animal's nails would make.
Oh, those. Jim, those marks are ancient. The boys used to own a collie dog. We don't have him anymore. We used to shut him up in here sometimes, and he'd scratch on the door for someone to let him out.
And what's this? Bill, what is this? A long, heavy chain, securely fastened to the metal bedpost, and a huge leather collar on the other end.
Yes, that was the collie's chain and collar. We We've never removed it from the bed. We'd chain the dog here at night to protect the boys.
But look here. Fresh blood stains on the collar. And little wisps of grayish fur.
Jim, forget it. Those stains aren't fresh. That dog hair has probably been there for ages.
Yeah. I suppose so. But why the bars on the windows, Andrews?
Just a protection for the children. Well, come on the living room, old man, and let me get you a drink. Call it a night, shall we?
Yes. So I suppose we'd better. Maybe a little sleep will do everybody a lot of good.
Angela, I can't tell you how happy I am to have you and Jim here to visit me.
Oh, we've looked forward to this for 6 months, Bill. I envy Jim for having a week's head start on me.
Oh, we really like it here, Bill. Baby asleep, dear?
Yes. And it's time we had some rest, too.
And that's my hint to clear out.
Oh, no.
Oh, I forgot. I'm going over to the mainland. I'll be back by morning.
Anything wrong, Bill?
Oh, no, not a thing. Jim, may I ask a favor?
Certainly.
That watch charm you're wearing, solid silver, isn't it?
Why, yes, it is.
Do you think you could give it to me?
Give it to you? Why, of course.
I have a very special reason for wanting it. I wouldn't ask for it if I didn't have.
Here you are.
Thanks, old man. I hope I can return it to you. Well, good night. See you tomorrow.
Good night, Bill.
Jim, why does Bill act so strangely?
I don't know, dear. I wonder why he wanted that silver watch charm. Odd. Oh, by the way, you said you had that wire for me.
Oh, yes. It's here in my purse. I'll get it for you. Would you cover Sandra, dear? She's kicked her blanket off.
Oh, sure.
Here you are, darling.
Thanks. I say, Angela.
Yes, dear?
Listen. In answer to your cable, I have been able to learn that the grandfather of William J. Andrews was shot in France almost half a century ago by an angered mob. His grave was recently opened, and instead of the remains of a man, investigators found the almost perfectly intact body of a strange beast, somewhat resembling a wolf.
Jim, no.
Just like that.
Oh, Jim, what's that?
Something's wrong. Come on, hurry.
Oh, look. Look down the doorway of that room with the bars at the windows.
Some animal running out there near the edge.
Jim!
I hit that creature 3 times. I couldn't have missed him. And yet the bullets didn't even slow him down.
Oh, Jim. There in the doorway. It's Raphael. Look at him. Oh, his throat.
Only an animal could have done a thing like that.
Where's young Johnny? Look, Jim. That heavy chain hanging from the bedpost.
The collar's gone. Chain snapped right in 2. Angela, you and I have a job to do. I hate to ask you to do this, but I think you've got the courage.
To do what, dear?
Come along with me. You will see. You about ready to get the lid off the box now?
Oh.
Steady, Angela. Steady.
Oh, this thing's terrible. Desecrating Bill Jr.'s grave like this. Digging up the casket.
If I'm wrong about this, well, we'll see. Hand me that bar. That's it. Now, Hold the light over here now, Angela. Just another nail or two.
Jim.
Just exactly what I thought.
That's not a boy's body in that casket.
It's what was Bill Jr.
But look. Woolly fur all over it. And that head and face. Like a dog's.
Like a wolf's.
Oh, Jim.
Young Bill Jr. died. A werewolf. His great-grandfather before him had the same disease. That's why Bill Jr. died so mysteriously. That's why Andrews had to leave the mainland to move out here. And all the while, he's been studying, trying to effect a cure. The hair on the palms of young Johnny's hands. Not wanting me to shake hands with him. Now I see why Bill was so insistent about the charm of twigs, stone, charcoal. My watch charm. A silver bullet.
Jim!
That howl again.
That's coming from our room, Jim.
Come on, hurry. Hurry. Look, there's no light in the room. We left it on, didn't we?
Oh, yes, we did. Oh, Jim, hurry.
There. The light went on. Look out, dear. Let me in there. Oh, locked. This door's locked. Who's in there? Open this door. Open up.
Oh, Jim.
Open up this door. Open up, I say.
Bill. Everything's finished now. Young Johnny is dead.
Dark fantasy.
Friday the 13th. And you have heard Scott Bishop's 13th original tale of dark fantasy. W is for werewolf. Ben Morris was heard tonight as Jim Howard. Garland Moss was Bill Andrews. Eleanor Naylor Corrin took the part of Angela Howard. Fred Wayne was Raphael. And Don Stoltz played young Johnny. Next Friday night at this same time, listen to the 14th in this series of dark fantasy dramas. An intriguing, exciting story called A Delicate Case of Murder. Written by Scott Bishop. A strange, weird tale of a spiritualistic medium who suddenly finds herself in the midst of a vicious and well-planned murder plot, with herself the victim. Murder and fantasy combine to produce one of the most eerie adventures you have ever heard in A Delicate Case of Murder. Tom Paxton speaking. Dark Fantasy comes to you each Friday night from WKY, Oklahoma City.
Soldiers, sailors, and Marines, come along now to Melody Roundup. Well, Yeah, here we are again, men, with another buckboard full of Badland ballads, songs and tunes of the mesquite, all roped and branded by your favorite musical ranch hands. And here to keep the roundup sort of moving along at a lope are your two old friends from Pine Ridge, Arkansas, Lum and Abner.
Nothing, Grannies. We're going to put them in a dead run.
Yeah, let's get the run.
All right, we got Skeeter Hubbard and his cowboys to entertain you today, boys. Going to stride right out with Strawberry Roan. Get Ezra to sing it.
Yeah, sing it, Ez.
Let me tell you a tale, it's a good one I own, of a bucking old bronc called a Strawberry Roan. I was hanging around town, not earning a dime, out of a job and just spending my time, when a stranger steps up and he says, I suppose you're a bronc-busting man by the looks of your clothes. I said, guess you're right, there's none I can't tame. If it's riding tough ponies, that's my middle name. Oh, that Strawberry Roan. Oh, that Strawberry Roan. They say he's a cayuse that's never been rode. The guy that gets on him is bound to be throwed off that Strawberry Roan. Then I puts on the blinds and it sure was a fight. My saddle comes next and I screws it down tight. I piled on his back, well I knew then, if I rode that old goat, I'd sure earn my 10. For he bowed his old neck and he leaped from the ground. 20 circles he made before he come down. He's the worst bucking bronc I've seen on the range. He can turn on a nickel and give you some change. Oh, that Strawberry Roan. Oh, that Strawberry Roan. He'll break him to saddle or break my own dome. I'll ride him until he lies down with a groan. Bring on your Strawberry Roan. There's no fooling, I'll say, but this pony can step. But I'm still setting tight and I'm earning a rep. When my stirrups I lose and also my hat, I starts pulling leather blind as a bat. And he makes one more jump and he's headed up high. Leaves me setting on air way up in the sky. I turned over twice, come back to earth, started into cussing the day of his birth. Oh, that Strawberry Roan. Oh, that Strawberry Roan. That sun-fishing critter's worth leaving alone. There's nary a buster from Texas to Nome can ride that Strawberry Roan.
All right, doggies, they was talking about a horse there, you know what?
Sure. What'd you think they was talking about?
Well, they said that Strawberry Roan, I just allowed that some sort of strawberry ice cream or something.
Well, I sort of had my mouth set for it myself.
Oh, I do
Saucer
love
or
it.
two of it.
Yeah, love it. Reminds me of the time we taken Cedric into the county seat, you know. He went in the drugstore there on the corner and wanted to get a cornucopia ice cream. He'd always been used to saucer ice cream. Recollect that?
Oh, yeah.
Went inside there and got that ice cream cone and come out in front and ate it and then taken it back in there and hand the cone to the lady and said, much obliged, lady, for the use of the vase.
If he'd had any sense at all, he'd have known that cone was made out of pasteboard and he could throw it away after he had the ice cream.
Why, sure.
Well, let's get on with the program.
Yeah, I didn't mean to start sort of gossiping here about Cedric.
Well, the trio's all set over there to sing Wagon Train.
Well, if they're set, let them go.
All day long we've traveled since the break of dawn, over hills and valleys, traveling on and on. Our dreams are of the morrow, as by the fire we rest, and in the glowing embers we see a golden west. Wagon train, wagon train, schooners of the prairie on a sandy main. Wagon rocking, rolling, moaning, groaning, wagon train. Gather round the campfire, a story I will tell about a little fellow. His name was Freddie Bell. He drove a team of horses on the Utah wagon trail. He was the youngest and the smallest of the men who manned the range. Wagon train, wagon train, schooners of the prairie on a sandy main. Wagon train, wagon train, rocking, rolling, moaning, groaning, wagon train.
Thank you, fellers. That's Wagon Train, played special for Privates Day and Fisher at APO 986.
Yes, mighty nice of you boys to write in. Appreciate it. Sure.
Always glad to get your letters, and we'll get around to playing all them tunes you're asking for just as quick as we can.
And I sure would love to hear from old Jack Phillips and Hale at APO 960.
Abner, you heard from Jack Phillips. He wrote you a letter.
I know, but he wanted me to sing Pistol Packing Mama, and you said I couldn't do it unless I heard from him twice. Or got 2 letters or something, you said. And I just figured he's the only one who want to hear me, so he better write again.
Well, let's get on with the program. You can write Jack Phillips a letter and tell him them things.
I can't write very good, Lon, without lolling my tongue out. Takes so much time.
Skeeter Hubbard's now going to sing Come On My Pony.
You've never seen a pony trot until you've seen the one I've got. Her name is Sal.
Name is Sal.
Anytime and anywhere, my pony always gets me there, and all I do is whisper in her ear, come on my pony, high-stepping pony, we're doing some riding today. And when the saddle starts to rattle and we're traveling in high, I feel just like a bird that's flying high in the sky. Step high, you vixen, or we'll be mixing. If you don't kill those miles all the way, I'll whisper, step, Sal, my pal, we're going to see my gal, and so we're doing some riding today. Now Sally is a peppy gal, and she's the queen of my corral. She's thoroughbred.
Thoroughbred.
Sunday is my courting day, and Sally always knows the way. She never even waits for me to say, come on my pony, high-stepping pony, we're doing some riding today. And when the saddle starts to rattle and we're traveling in high, feel just like a bird that's flying high in the sky. Step high, you vixen, or we'll be mixing. If you don't kill those miles all the way, I'll whisper, step, Sal, my pal, we're going to see my gal, and so we're doing some riding today.
Granny, that was all right. That Skeeter has got a voice, ain't he? That's the prettiest altory voice I believe I ever said on her.
Yes, it is. Yes, it
sort of sings by main strength, mostly.
He does that, yes.
Rears back on his heels and lets it go.
Why, he could sing 8 or 9 meters, a long meter singing, and still come in on a home stretch strong enough to make the dust fly along.
Oh, you take a good clear day with the wind with him, he could be heard 4 miles.
Ain't no doubt about it. Wished I had him down on my place for a hog caller.
Well, we go right on now. The trio's all set over there to sing Open Country.
Open country is calling me, west of the great divide. Oh, sea. There's where I long to ride. Give me a land where a man's a man and a friend's a friend. Give me a road I can call my own and a trail that will never end. Open prairie and open sky. Let me live and die. Live and die in that open country. Just let me live where there's plenty of room, out where the sage and the wildflowers bloom. Just let me live, a son of the sod, closer to nature and closer to God. Open country is calling me. West of the great divide, open country I yearn to see. There's where I long to ride. Give me a land where a man's a man and a friend's a friend. Give me a road I can call my own and a trail that will never end. Open prairie and open sky. Let me live and die. Live and die in that open country.
Well, it was mighty fine, boys, mighty fine. Say, Lum, I believe we ought to tell the boys about our extinguished guest we got here tonight with us.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't reckon most of you boys had ever heard of this lady here, but her name is Betty Boyle. She was a pin-up girl in the Spanish-American War. And I just wanted to tell you she was down here today listening to the music. Proud to have you, Miss Boyle.
Yeah, I just wish she could get up to the microphone and say a word or two to you, but...
Mom, she done well to get down here, and I don't try to get her on her feet.
Well, Miss Boyle, put your teeth in and leave the boys with a smile.
Yeah, that's fine.
Well, that's
Not too
about...
far, honey.
That's about all the corn in the crib for this time, fellers, but we'll be back soon with more of your requests, so keep 'em coming. The address is Melody Roundup in care of Armed Forces Radio, Los Angeles, USA. Till we all meet again down by the corral fence, best wishes and lots of luck from Lum and Abner.
Amen.
Melody Roundup has starred Lum and Abner with music by Skeeter Hubbard and his Cowboys. Lou Crosby speaking. Melody Roundup is produced by the Armed Forces Radio Service.
Presenting the transcription feature, Superman.
Look, a up in the sky.
It's a bird. It's a plane. It's Superman! Yes, it's Superman, strange visitor from the planet Krypton, who came to Earth with powers and abilities far beyond those of mortal men. Superman, who can leap tall buildings at a single bound, race a speeding bullet to its target, bend steel in his bare hands, and who, disguised as Clark Kent, mild-mannered reporter for a great metropolitan newspaper, fights a never-ending battle for truth and justice. But before we join Superman, listen.
And now to our story. Whatever doubt Clark Kent felt about the existence of a ghost car, said to be the cause of a series of accidents on the road to the Barrow Ranch, was swept aside when he and Lois drove up the dirt road to the ranch. The sudden appearance of an onrushing automobile forced them into a tree, and there was no evidence later of any tire tracks in the dirt. The car had mysteriously disappeared. When Lois and Kent finally reached the ranch, they learned that the owner, Steve Graham, had for 3 weeks been plagued with trouble. Accidents on the ranch as well as on the road. At the end of his rope, Graham has decided to sell the property. The task of fighting the unknown jinx is too much. But Clark Kent is of another mind. He is determined to solve the mystery of the ghost car. But time is limited. The sheriff has granted Kent just 3 days to find a solution. After that, the road will be closed to traffic. As our story continues today, Kent, Lois, and Jimmy Olsen have gone to their cabins to rest up after a trying day.
That's our cabin, Jimmy?
That's right, Mr. Kent. You're bunking with me.
Oh.
Here, let me turn on the light.
Okay.
Ah, isn't it swell?
Perfect. Well, you better hit the hay, Jimmy. You have a tough day ahead of us tomorrow.
Help! What's that?
Lois crying for help. Something's happened. Come on, Jim. Lois! Where are you, Lois?
Here, Paul, behind the cabin. Hurry.
Stay with me, Jim.
Okay.
What's the matter?
Look there. The barn's on fire.
Terrific blaze. Come on.
There's Mr. Graham attaching a hose.
All right, Lois. Don't you and Jimmy come any closer. I'm going to help Graham.
Kind of glad to hear. Here, give me a hand with this hose.
What's the matter? Why isn't there any pressure?
I don't know.
Now, wait, let me look.
My horses are trapped in there. We've got to save them.
This hose is trapped.
Who could have done that?
No time to worry about that now. We've got to save those animals. Mr. Graham, is there a well nearby?
Yes, right over there.
Get your men to start a bucket brigade immediately.
Where are you going?
To free those horses.
Well, you can't go in there, Kent. It's an inferno.
I'll try the back of the barn. The fire isn't so bad around that side.
You can't, Kent. You'll be burned to death.
Never mind me. Get that bucket brigade going. Superman will have to take care of this. Now, just crash through the side of the barn and back here. Here goes. There, that does it. Another minute and I would have been too late. Now to get those horses out of their stalls. No, they're frightened. All right, now get going. Get out. Come on there. Outside. Get along. Come on there. That's it. That's the last of them. I'll have some explaining to do, but I think I can handle it.
Kent, are you hurt?
No, I'm all right.
How did you get in there to let those horses out?
There was a loose board. I tore it off and crawled into the stalls. Where's Miss Lane and Jimmy?
Back at the ranch house.
Oh.
One of my men burned his hand. They're fixing him up.
I see the bucket brigade's working all right.
Yes, but the barn will be burned to the ground, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
At least we'll keep the fire from spreading to the other buildings.
Say, Mr. Graham, this is beginning to get serious.
What do you mean?
That fire was no accident.
Why do you say that?
That hose was deliberately cut not so long ago. Someone set that fire on purpose after cutting the hose, so you couldn't put it out. Evidently the same person or persons responsible for the ghost car and the other accidents.
Oh, Kent, it's no use. I'm up against something too strong for me to fight. I can't win.
You're not fighting alone now, Mr. Graham.
I know, but it's still too much. I'm going to take that real estate broker's offer. Let him have the ranch at his price.
Is it a good offer?
No. He wants to pay less than the ranch originally cost.
But why should anyone be so anxious to buy the Barrow?
I don't know. The Butte Ranch can be a profitable business, but the Barrow hasn't been in existence long enough to make much money. Just about made expenses until all this happened.
And yet someone is anxious to get control of the Barrow. Why? Is there anything valuable on your property?
Not that I know of. There's an abandoned mine, but it's not worth anything.
What kind of mine?
It used to be a fairly productive gold mine, but it was worked out about 20 years ago. Most of the tunnels have collapsed.
I'd like to take a look at it. Where is it?
It's up at the other end of the ranch, beyond the creek, about 4 miles from here.
I'll take a ride down there tomorrow. Say, incidentally, does that real estate agent want to purchase the ranch for himself?
Oh, no. He hasn't enough money. He's representing someone else on this deal.
Oh, who?
He won't tell me. Just calls up every few days and tries to get me to sell. Rather nasty about it lately. Said if I didn't sell, I'd be sorry.
Oh. I think I'll go down and have a talk with him first thing in the morning. What's his name?
Ed Jenks. I think you can turn in now, Kent. Fire's dying out.
Looks like it.
Hey, men, better round up those horses and put them in the corral. The following morning, before Lois and Jimmy awaken, Kent, in a car borrowed from Graham, pulls up before the real estate office of Ed Jenks.
Mr. Jenks?
Yes?
I want to talk about some real estate.
Oh, real estate?
Uh-huh.
Don't usually get clients early. Come right in.
Thanks.
Now, Mr...
Kent. Clark Kent.
Oh, Mr. Kent. What you interested in? Ranch land or town property?
Why, ranch land, Mr. Jenks. Specifically, the Bar O Ranch.
What? What's that you say?
The Bar O, Steve Graham's ranch.
Ain't for sale.
Well, then, Mr. Jenks, why are you trying to buy it?
Me? Me? I, the Barrow? Fiddlesticks.
I happen to know that you've made repeated offers to Mr. Graham.
That's none of your business.
It is my business, Mr. Jenks. You're trying to buy the ranch for someone else. Who is it?
That's my affair.
Not anymore, it isn't. Now, Mr. Jenks, I don't think you'd be very happy in jail.
What are you talking about?
Jail, Mr. Jenks, jail. Where you're going unless you talk.
I ain't done nothing.
There have been a number of strange accidents around the Bar O. Last night there was a fire, a suspicious fire.
I don't know what you're talking about.
We have evidence, Mr. Jenks. You threatened Steve Graham when he refused to sell the Bar O.
It wasn't me. If anything wrong happened, it was him. He did it. I'm not to blame for what he did.
Who, Mr. Jenks? Who?
I don't know.
Oh, then why did you say he did it?
And he told me he had ways of making Graham sell if he refused to take the offer.
You still haven't told me his name.
Honest, I don't know his name. I never met him.
Well, if you never met him, how do you come to be acting as his agent?
I got a registered letter one day with a wad of money inside for my fee. The letter tells me to make this offer for the Bar O and not to take no for an answer. And since then, he keeps calling me up on the phone and telling me to keep after Graham.
Do you recognize the man's voice?
No, it's muffled like. You've got to believe me. You've got to. I don't know him from Adam.
The best way you can get me to believe you is to help me find out who this man is.
Well, I will, but Oh, excuse me. Hello?
Hello, Jenks. Yes, you know who this is.
Yes, about the Bar O.
Yeah. Listen, Jenks, I want you to...
Wait a minute. There's someone at the door.
Make it snappy.
Tim. Graham wants to buy the Bar O.
Oh. Wait. I've got an idea. You tell him you think you can close the deal with Graham right away. But you must have some money. And then arrange a meeting place with him.
What do you want me to do that for?
It's a trap, don't you see? When he shows up, we'll grab him.
Well, I get you. Hello?
About time you got back. Now listen, Jenks. I want you to get busy. If you can.
I got great news for you, mister. It looks like Graham ready to sell.
Now you're talking. I knew he'd come around the way things have been happening. What are the arrangements?
Well, I must have some money. I must have some money right away. Graham wants to see some cash in advance before he'll sign.
How can I get the money to you?
Well, I could meet you somewhere.
No. Stall Graham off. Tell him you'll have the cash in a day or two.
It can't be done. He's got to have it now. The deal will fall through if he don't get it today.
Oh.
Tell him we'll meet him anywhere.
I can meet you anywhere you say.
All right. You know the deserted mine on the Bar O property?
Yes?
I'll meet you inside the mine shaft in an hour. Be careful. Make sure no one's following you.
Well, I'll do that. I'll watch out.
Make sure you do. Bye.
He fell for it.
Oh, that's fine. All right, come on, Jenks. We're driving up to the old mine.
Good. We'll catch him.
Now, here's my car. Get in. There, you all set?
Yes, sir.
Driving to the abandoned gold mine, Clark Kent and Ed Jenks enter the shaft through a creaking door which hangs from one rusted hinge.
It's dark as pitch in here, Mr. Kent.
Wait, I've got a flashlight. Here now.
Yeah, that's better. Well, I guess all we can do now is wait. It's kind of exciting, ain't it?
Listen. Someone's coming. Hear that horse approaching?
Yes, sir. I guess he's on it, but he said an hour. So within 45 minutes. What happened to the light?
I don't want him to see me. If he calls out, don't let him know I'm here.
I won't.
It's coming closer.
I guess he's cutting off his horse.
Quiet. He's right outside the door.
Yes. Here he comes.
Well, it looks as if Clark Kent is going to find out who is so anxious to buy the Barrow Ranch and why. Who is the man walking into the trap? Is he responsible for the strange accidents, for the fire and the ghost car? Don't miss the next exciting episode. Tune in and follow the story with the Superman.
Don't forget, tune in again for the next thrilling episode with Superman.
Look, up in the sky.
It's a bird. It's a plane. It's Superman. Superman is a copyrighted feature appearing in Action Comics magazine.
And now, get ready to smile again with radio's home folks, Vic Sade, written by Paul Riley.
Down over to Miss Rogers's. She won't be home till 5 o'clock.
Oh.
And Miss Harris told me to hand it to her personally.
Uh-huh.
Didn't want me just to leave it on the porch or someplace. Might get stolen.
Yes.
Or injured by the cold weather.
Sure. Well, you might as well take your coat off. Not anywhere near 5 o'clock.
Oh.
Bluetooth Johnson phoned a little while ago.
I'm not surprised. Bluetooth's trouble this afternoon is he won't believe there's a Michigan living in Michigan.
Oh?
He won't believe it and he won't believe it. Bluetooth, I tell him, I'll cross my heart and hope to die. Eat a banana and holler high. If there's not a Mr. Michigan living in Michigan. He just shakes his head sadly. I don't doubt it a bit, he says. Sometimes I'd like to introduce him to my father's friend out west. Who's that, I inquire. Mr. Rexus Texas is his rejoinder.
Rexus Texas?
Fake, of course.
Uh-huh. Isn't this a handsome clock, though?
Yeah.
Miss Harris's card club gives nice prizes. Us simple ladies never buy things as elegant as this. The most expensive prize we ever give.
Hi. He crept in softly like the panther.
Yes, I never heard the back door open. Hi.
Is that the voice of Sadie Gook, the sweetest girl in all the world?
Yeah. Whereabouts does Miss Rogers live?
712.5 West Locust Street.
You want to be awful careful you don't drop that lovely clock going over.
Trust me, I'm being paid 25 cents.
Hello, hello, Sadie. Greetings, Thrush. Cat's all this. Let's all kiss.
What you feeling so good about?
I'm naturally of a sunny disposition. And on top of my sunny disposition, I just won a brilliant victory over Ike Me Supper in a knockdown, drag-em-out argument as to whether heavyweight fight fighters should... Whose clock?
Belongs to a lady in Miss Harris's card club. She won it as a prize.
Electric, huh?
Yeah.
Here, Peanut Brittle. Take my hat and coat and hang them in the hall.
Oh?
What we doing with Miss Harris's card club prizes?
I'm being paid 2 bits for delivering it. Was won by Miss Rogers, 712.5 West Locust Street. She's always pretty heavy for her to carry home. I got the job of carrying it over.
Why ain't you carrying it over then?
There won't be anybody at Miss Rogers' house till 5 o'clock.
All right. Go hang up my hat and coat. I refuse to stand here bickering in this disgraceful way.
Had a nice little chat with Miss Trogel on the phone a while ago.
How's everything with her?
Well, she had a letter from Margaret this morning. Margaret and her man planned to... Hey, what you doing? Don't interfere with that clock.
I'm not interfering with it.
Raj! Yeah? Come here quick and rescue your property.
Oh, for Pete's sake, Sade, I'm only looking at it.
Yes, and you're touching it, too.
Oh, so what? You understand how an electric...
The other clock, I expect.
Basically, yes. However, you'll find that the mechanism...
Now, Vic, you're not going to fiddle with that.
Holy smoke, I got my hands behind my back.
It's not a toy, and it's the property of other people.
I got my hands behind my back. Look, I got my hands behind my back.
Why, I bet you take that clock apart.
I got my hands behind my back. I got my hands behind my back.
Take it upstairs or somewhere, Willie.
I got my hands behind my back, Dave.
Fine business.
Somebody's in the kitchen.
Huh?
Heard the back door open.
Oh, my groceries. I have to talk to him. Wait a minute, groceries. What's his name?
Fleabite.
Well, I'm not going to call anybody Fleabite. What's his real name?
Clarence.
Wait a minute, Clarence.
Everybody calls him Fleabite.
I bet his mother don't.
No, probably not. She's probably like Smelly Clark's mother. Roberta Smelly Clark is smelly in her presence, and she quick passes some remark like, Albert acts like he's seizing himself up a cold or something, with plenty of emphasis on the Albert.
Oh.
What's the matter?
The contact points on this plug are out of tube.
Hey, you better leave that alone.
Oh, I'll fix them in just a jiffy.
No, now, God, I'm responsible for that.
It's a fire hazard the way it is. Look.
Yeah.
You plug a cord in the electric light socket with contact points like this, and you run the risk of getting a short circuit. Women don't know anything about electricity. It would be criminal to hand a dangerous thing like this over to some poor widow lady and take a chance on her house burning down.
No widow lady.
Who's this?
Who's Rogers?
I don't know. 10-point over the wheel. Try it out in the pantry and fetch me my little screwdriver.
I certainly will not.
What kind of talk is this, my boy? Mom, your mother's busy talking at the grocery store. She does not wish to be disturbed.
I bet she'd wish to be disturbed if she knew you.
Here comes that telephone this afternoon. All right. Never mind about the screwdriver. Your pocket knife will do. Lend it to me a moment, please.
No.
You refuse?
Yes.
Your attitude makes me feel bad, right?
I'm responsible for that electric clock.
My automatic pencil will serve the purpose admirably. You see, Cupcake, now all I have to do is line up these contact points. Very probably some careless clerk in the store jammed them up. Your mother's busy. She doesn't wish to be disturbed.
Does monkey with the clock?
He's not said he has not made any letters to me. He claims he lost his back or something to be talking to him. I don't know. Silence, sir.
What's the matter?
Oh, Hank, got that telephone this afternoon?
I can't take it.
All right, thanks. You're a rough, noisy boy. Got that fixed the way you want it? Yep. Contact points are now as straight as fire. I have eliminated a dangerous condition. Your poor widow lady can now plug in this electric clock and have it coming.
She's not a widow lady.
Who?
Miss Rogers.
I guess I'm not crazy with Miss Rogers. I bet she's a charming person.
Now what?
Look at that disfiguring smudge beside the minute hand there.
Doug, you're not going to take the crystal off.
Only long enough to remove...
Hey, man!
Do you want to be funny, sir?
Doug's going to take the crystal off the clock.
Tomorrow I'm going to bring you to your fair stock. I just have to take a side and go to the open show, and I just can't help it. Not another word, my boy.
What's wrong in there?
Oh, did you, Hank? Got stop telephone this afternoon.
Vic, please.
You did pry the crystal off.
Only to remove this smudge of dirt. There.
I'll take the clock now.
Stand back.
Okay, I'll take the clock now.
Without the crystal, what can you be thinking now?
I'll put the crystal back on.
No, I will. It's a delicate mechanism. Hardly an article to be trusted to children. I will replace the crystal.
Yeah, and then you'll decide to examine the mainspring.
I don't believe electric clocks have mainspring. Why should they have mainspring?
Hey, now, God.
The motor power is electricity. There's no need for a mainspring. However, it'll only require half a second now to make sure...
Please don't take the back off.
You're unduly alarmed, my boy. Stand back with the tape.
What was all that yelling about?
Now we'll see.
Ah, yes, lady.
What was all the hollering and screeching?
I merely inquired of Hank Gupta that telephone. Would you leave right away?
Are you going out of your head or what?
You're taking Miss Rogers' electric clock apart.
No.
Your little boy takes liberties with the truth, I fear, kiddo. And it's been taken apart. All I done. Not at all. I only corrected
You went to
little
work and interfered with an after-all, huh?
Look at these contact points.
Brush Bradley.
Look at these contact points.
Hurry up, snap that clock. Get it out of sight.
You got the crystal in the back off.
Say, when you look at these contact points,
What's the matter with them?
they were out of true. Crooked. I straightened them. Well, if I had straightened them, Rush might have delivered the clock to this poor widow lady, and she might have plugged it in, and there might have been a short circuit. And the poor widow the lady might have been killed and her husband to the ground.
What poor old little lady is this?
Mrs. What's her name?
Who's he talking about?
Who's Roger?
She's no widow. She's not old, she's not poor.
Yes. Looks like that happens every day. Electricity is a wonderful thing and a faithful servant to man, but the person has to remember that faulty equipment might bring on disaster. Why, I wouldn't permit Chris to hand over this electric clock in the
Well,
condition
you put the crystal and the backpack on.
Of course.
Why did you take them off?
There was a big, disfiguring, unsightly splotch of dirt right beside the window.
That's why you took the crystal off, huh?
Yes.
So why did you take the back off?
To ascertain whether or not electric clocks have mainspring. As I'm of a mechanical turn of mind. Oh, no, Sadie, it's kind of delicate.
Oh, one side. Then enough damage done.
Oh, you're like
One side, one side.
This is what I get for marrying saving some poor old widow's life.
Miss Rogers ain't a widow.
Who?
Miss Rogers.
Who's Miss Rogers?
The lady that owns this clock.
I wouldn't know if you are.
Honest idea.
She's a poor old widow?
She's not a poor old widow. Not a widow, she's not old, and she's not poor. Husband is considered quite well off.
What's she do?
He's an electrical engineer down at the Chicago Norton shop.
Electrical engineer?
Yeah.
We'll need you to fix the electric clock. You want him fitted.
All right, Willie, here you are. Take it and get it out of sight till you're ready to leave.
Okay. Let's pop her in the wall pocket once and see if she runs.
No.
Well, it might be broken, Miss What's-Your-Name, to take less than We'll only take the stick.
No.
Well, okay, but at least you let me regulate it. You see, this poor old regulator's probably going to understand it. I got it.
And go outdoors. Quick. Hurry. Come.
Folk songs of tomorrow.
showers may come your way. They bring the flowers that bloom in May. So if it's raining, have no regrets, because it isn't raining rain, you know, it's raining violets. And where you see clouds upon the hills, you soon will see crowds of daffodils. So keep on looking for a bluebird and listening for his song. Whenever April showers come along. I'm through with love, I'll never fall again. Said adieu to love, don't ever call again. For I must have you or no one. And so I'm through with love. I've locked my heart, I'll keep my feelings there. I have stocked my heart with icy frigid-air, and I mean to care for no one, because I'm through with love. Why did you lead me to think you could care? You didn't need me, for you had your share of slaves around you to hound you and swear with deep emotion, devotion to you. Goodbye to spring and all it meant to me. It can never bring the thing that used to be, for I must have you or no one. And so I'm through with love.
Today's program in the series At Ease brought you Oh How I Missed You Tonight, The Object of My Affection, Charlie, My Boy, April Showers, Dream Dust, The Swan, I'm Through with Love, I'll Get By, and The Song Is You. The Armed Forces Radio Orchestra is under the direction of Captain Walter Schumann. Your soloist was Martha Mears. Les Paul on the electric guitar. This is the Armed Forces Radio Service.
Listening to a program presented by the 4 major networks of America. Its principal voice will be that of Lieutenant Robert Montgomery, United States Navy. First, there is a letter for you to hear. A letter from the President of the United States. In Washington, Archibald MacLeish will read it to you. Here is Mr. MacLeish.
I have the honor to read this letter from the President. Dear Mr. MacLeish, difficulties the American people must face in following and understanding this war have been constantly on my mind of late. In all history, never has a war been extended over so much of the world. We are obliged to think not in terms of countries, but of continents, not in terms of armies, but in terms of entire peoples and the 7 seas. This challenge to our understanding, like the war itself, is a challenge we can meet successfully. The people of this country possess means of communicating with each other which enable them to face and to overcome the greatest difficulties in the way of understanding. I am especially gratified to note that, for the first time, the 4 major networks and their hundreds of affiliated stations have given their time, their facilities, and talents for a series of broadcasts devoted to the telling of facts to the people of the United States, and those throughout the whole world, wherever people are allowed to listen to free words, to hear the truth. The cooperation of these networks and stations will make it possible to carry across our continent, from one shore to the other, a fuller comprehension of the nature of the war in which we are engaged, and of the nature of the labor we must undertake, the sacrifices we must undergo, and the dangers we must endure to win it. Yours sincerely, Franklin D. Roosevelt. I should like to add my own appreciation of the action of the networks and of the radio industry as a whole in devoting their tremendous facilities to the series of programs which begins tonight. Our enemies in this war have made one use of radio. The United Peoples are making another and a very different use, a use which will meet the Axis strategy of lies with the United Peoples' strategy of truth. The Nazi Party began its activities years ago by turning the radio against the people of Germany, as other revolutionists might have turned machine guns. Later, and after the revolution had been pushed through in Germany, the Nazis swung their broadcasts against the peoples of Europe. Finally, after Europe had been overrun, they wheeled their beams west across the Atlantic into South America and even into the United States. Their purpose at all stages of the game has been to confuse and to deceive, to trick and corrupt and cajole their own people, and to trick and frighten and confuse the peoples they have marked for conquest. They will discover before this war is over that truth is in truth more powerful than deceit, and that with the radio as with many other instruments whose use our enemies have perverted, those who use them for freedom and for humanity can use them more effectively than those who use them for slavery and for death. The first of these programs, the program you are now about to hear, is presented in the hope that it may carry across our continent from one shore to the other, as the President has put it, a fuller comprehension of the nature of the war in which we are engaged.
What we say tonight has to do with blood and with bone and with anger, and also with a big job in the making. Laughter can wait. Soft music can have the evening off. No one is invited to sit down and take it easy. Later. There's a war on. You hear that? That's a new airplane motor, idling on the test block. When it gets going, it turns faster than any motor ever built. Just how fast is a military secret. We can't show you the motor, but we can let you in on the sound of it. Hear that, Americans? That's the first of 100,000 noises like it. Hear that, London? We're making enough to go round. Hear that, Moscow? It flies wonderfully well in cold weather. Hear that, Chongqing? That sound is a new American slogan. Hear that, Batavia, Melbourne, Cairo, Ottawa? A lot of friendly horsepower there. Did you hear it too, Adolf? Did your listening post catch the sound? Of course they did. The boys will give you a report tomorrow morning. Something about hearing a secret new plane. Wait till you see it, Adolf. Did you hear it too, Benito? Did it come through clearly on the monitor at 3XL? By the way, how are you sleeping these nights, Duce? Any conscience trouble? Ever dream of getting stabbed in the back? Ever wonder what you've done to the people of Italy? Were you listening too, son of heaven? Did the vulgar motor ruffle the imperial tranquility? Did it cause to flutter the wings of the dove of peace, where brooding he perched in the garden of the temple? So sorry, your majesty. Honorable mistake. Americans and all you allies of Americans, you know the record and you know the facts. You know where we stood and where we stand. We didn't want this war, but now we've got it and we're going to hang on to it. Anybody who thinks we're fooling and that we're fighting a pop-gun war with Sundays and holidays off and business as usual has two more guesses coming. We've tasted blood and we've shed some blood, and there will be more of both. There will also be anger, and there will be the solemn word and the parting of the loved one, and the troop ship slipping away in the dark, and at home the machine turning and the flaming forge, and the weapons coming out clean, and the work going on by day and the work going on by night, until the big job's done, until the big job's done and over with and finished, so it'll stay that way. Ordinarily, we Americans are affable enough. We've never made killing a career, although we happen to be pretty good with a gun. We never felt we were that inferior. It's only people with a thumping inferiority who go around convincing each other they're a superior race. You want to hear something ridiculous? Listen.
Hail Jefferson! Hail Jefferson! The United States of America overall. Today, the United States of America is ours. Tomorrow, the entire world. Hail! Hail!
Oh, no. We've never been that way. We've been concerned not with owning everybody, but with everybody owning. We tried to make our strip of planet a good place to be born on, and to live on, and to have some children on. We were busy educating our people, giving them a decent slant on things, trying to see that the hungry got fed and the jobless got work, trying to remember the forgotten man, trying to deal out a better deal around the table. A sentimental people, a sympathetic people, we make no bones about it. We show it, and we act it, and sometimes we even sing about it. Not songs of complaint or hate, not Horstweißel Lieder, but compassionate songs. Songs for the underdog, songs for the poor man in the rich country.
Once I built a tower to the sun, brick and rivet and lime. Once I built a tower, now it's done. Brother, can you spare a dime?
us, all right. We like opera and symphony and swing, but still a song about a jobless worker can sweep the country. We like Cinderella stories and The Thin Man, but still a novel about a dispossessed Oklahoma family named Jode can become a bestseller and be made into a movie. Did someone ask whether this country has a heart? Whether it could spare a dime? Well, we could spare a dime, and we did spare a dime, and we also spared some dollars to build some roads and to build some houses and to build some men. And we were getting somewhere. We were on our way, minding our own business. We had plenty to do. The last thing we wanted was this war. But we got it. It came. It came on a quiet Sunday morning out of the dirty dawn. It came with a grinning face behind a mask of peace. It came with an immortal shame. Came with the compliments of a poker-faced Mikado of the Showa era, which means enlightened peace. Came through the courtesy of the highest gentleman of Japan, whose bombers swooped and strafed while his ambassadors bowed and scraped. That's how it came, but not, however, how the fight will go. He who starts avalanche rarely stops sane. Old Chinese American proverb. We singing people sing a different kind of tune now. A battle hymn made up of strains of music from 1,000 whirring dynamos and working locomotive bells and tractors groaning in low gear. An orchestration all the world will listen to. 100,000 airplanes for wind instruments. Heavy guns for timpani. The melody you know already. Sung in the key of V. V for vindication. V for victory. Here is a riddle for the German shortwave listener to solve. Why is this music like a tank which has been captured by the Russians on the Eastern Front? Answer? Because it is a German product. Used against the Nazis. But wait a minute, stop. What is the enemy? We know what we are, but what is the enemy? What is this thing for which we stopped what we were doing and put our private plans in storage? For which we got into uniform and made friends with a gun? What is it we have pledged our lives and fortunes and our sacred honor to destroy, saying goodbye, meanwhile, to the easy life, to the old routine, saying so long to the 8:15 commuter's train and the drive through the park on Sunday, saying goodbye to the wife, the folks, the kid. See you later to the boys at the office. What is the enemy that we have done these things and done them quickly and been glad to do them? He is these things. He is this.
Sind Sie Kurt Östermann?
Was ist los?
Sind Sie Kurt Östermann?
Ja.
Weiter wollen wir nichts wissen. Heil Hitler! Heil Hitler! Gehen wir.
The enemy is murder, international. Murder, unlimited. Quick murder on the spot, or slow murder in the concentration camp. Murder for listening to the shortwave radio. Murder for listening, for marrying a Pole. For propagation of the faith. For speaking one's mind. For trading with a non-Aryan. For being an invalid too long. The enemy is the assassin with the swagger and the smoking gun. The stumble bum set up in business by the patron state. The enemy is this.
Sta bene. Tienilo fermo. Tieni la rotta. Adesso. La bomba è partita.
Molto bene, eccellente. Li abbiamo presi tutti, non è vero?
Tutti. Sembravano un bocciolo di rosa che si aprisse.
The happy warrior has written him a book of reminiscences.
Ho ancora in mente l'effetto di un gruppetto di galla. Sbocciare come una rosa, essendogli piombato in mezzo qualche tubo della mia gelatiera. Era molto divertente.
Translation.
I still remember a group of gala horsemen blowing up
like an unfolding rose as one of my bombs fell in their midst. It was exceptionally good fun.
The enemy is laughter over the bleeding stump, the cold smile of the officer who stands watching while the hostage digs his own grave, the coarse joke over the girl just raped. The enemy is the torture gag, worked out with patience, and a kind of humor, officially approved, given the nod by the high command, given the go-ahead by the big boss at the big desk, at the far end of the long road. The enemy is this.
Engine hot dog, yours. Engine hot dog, yours. Engine hot dog. Engine hot dog. Engine hot dog.
The enemy is the bridge of an aircraft carrier, busy with details, steaming south-southeast on the night of December 6th. The enemy is a command to bomb an open city. The enemy is a plan, and a system, and a science, and a method, and a blueprint of utter degradation. The enemy is guns, and tanks, and ships, and planes, and factories, and all the arsenal of fascism. What fascism consists of, 600 million slaves in Europe and in Asia are aware. What fascism accomplishes, dead women and dead children can explain to you. The dead, and the living dead as well, whose stories we have heard, but never quite believed, whose agonies no tongue, no symbol, no imagining can ever utter. Shall a picture tell you how the marrow of the bone decays? Can a poem in a magazine express the green scum gathered on the soul? Will a broadcast on the radio impersonate the gnaw of hunger in the bowel? The dead, and the living dead, they know what kind of order is the new order. They can tell you. You have but to ask them. Ask them now, and take down what they say.
Dead of an accidental fall. But it was not an accident.
And you, madam?
I couldn't stand it anymore.
And you?
Shot trying to escape, that's the report. I was sitting in my cell writing a letter.
And you?
It rained that morning when they lined us up. 100 of us, picking every 10th man at random. We were stood between their rifles and the wall. That was the last thing I remembered. It was a cold rain, spreading its sorrow over, cautioning the earth concerning winter. The stone beneath our feet was good French stone. The wind that drove the rain was a west wind blowing over the fields of France. The sky was a French sky. The rain was a French rain. Only the bullets were German.
How long does this go on, O Frenchman? How long the swilling Nazi, his heels authoritative on the boulevard? How long before the bloody night of vengeance and the free day rising over the roofs of Paris? Frenchman, how long?
That we shall answer in good time. That we shall reply to formally. What is the enemy? The enemy is a liar also, a gigantic and deliberate and willful liar, lying blood-red lies and proud of it. What is a big lie, worthy of the enemy?
Wir werden keinen anderen Pfad beschreiten, als den, der von den Verträgen festgelegt ist. Das deutsche Volk denkt gar nicht daran, irgendein Land zu überfallen.
Translation?
We will tread no other path but that laid down by the treaties. The German people have no thought of invading any country.
Said by the Führer in May 1933.
日本は砂において何らの土地侵略の意思はありません。
Japan has no territorial designs in China.
Said by Foreign Minister Yoshizawa, December 1931.
l'Italia non prenderà mai l'iniziativa di precipitare la guerra.
Italy will never take the initiative of starting a war,
said by the Duce on Christmas Day, 1931.
日本は平和の鳩のごとき心情を有するものであります。しかしながら大蛇、すなわち米国と英国が蛇の卵を鳩の巣の中に入れたものであります。
Japan has the heart of a dove of peace, but a snake, the United States and Great Britain, has placed its egg in the dove's nest,
said by Major Kunio Akiyama in February 1941.
La vittoria bacia le nostre bandiere. Io sento che tutti gli italiani mi comprendono e mi amano.
Victory kisses our flags. I feel that all Italians understand and love me, said by Signor Mussolini.
They may lie to their own people, but no more to us. They may hire quisligs for a pfennig, pay the traitor with a silver trinket, set a black shirt haw-haw braying on the shortwave radio. But the kidding's done with, and the shameless words no more will play with good men's gullibilities and hopes. We see the clear way now. Not peace at any price, but victory at any price. Not the soft, appeasing answer and the turning of the other cheek, but cannon speaking for us and the loud persuasion of the bursting bomb. A big job in the making. A big job for Americans. A job to do with fighting. In the air and on the land and in the water, Allied fighting men are en route to a greater rendezvous tonight than any you or I shall keep before the morning. This is war. It won't be won by thoughtful editorials or by a voice like this or words like these. It won't be won by sitting home and letting others do the work. It won't be won by figuring that we can never lose because we've never lost. It may be that America has never lost a war, but neither, for that matter, has Japan. This is war, and war is sweat, and grime, and mud, and overtime, and never mind the profits. This is war, and has to do with blood and bone and anger, and a big job done by many. This is war.
Hey. What? Larry's dead. Well, lift him over.
Ain't got the strength.
Lift him. Give me a hand.
Two survivors. 34 are missing. It appears on page 18, 6 column over. This is war.
Потише. Постой.
Вы там. Закрой.
Смотри направо около хаты. Осторожно.
It appears on page 12 under a communique stating, nothing new to report. During the night, advance patrols made contact with the enemy. This is war.
Start intravenous injections. Saline and glucose. Set up for plasma. The blunt scissors and forceps. Here she is. Shrapnel's better.
This is routine.
All right.
This does not appear in print. This is war. And by the way, how are you fighting it? Or are you? What are you doing with your share of the Republic's time? Are you too good, too proud, too special? Are your hands too soft? Are you bored, indifferent? Is humanity beneath you? Are you satisfied to give the brush off to the greatest struggle of all time? The fight is on and you are in it all the way. If it goes down, then you go down. Don't kid yourself about that. You and your family and your friends and your church and your job and your savings and your ambitions. The fight is on and you are in it, whether you handle a bayonet or a monkey wrench. Both are good weapons. The sword is mighty, and the pen is mighty, and the rubber tire also. The bombardier is mighty, and the carpenter, the nurse, the teacher, air raid warden, paper saver, rumor killer. All of you are entered in the lists. All of you are making noises to be heard. You want to hear the sounds of battle? Listen. Grinding job for a valve on one of the new tank motors. Getting out a report for a production conference. Know those 125,000 planes we're making? There go parts for 2 of them on the assembly line. Practicing for a benefit. China relief. These are all battle noises. These are all related to the roaring cannon and the stuttering machine gun, notes and harmonies and rhythms belonging to the massive music of the battle hymn of the United Peoples. Shells will whistle at their work, and we at ours, each making a certain music in a special way. Some will instruct machines to hum, and others swing the crane and truck the load. Songs will rise up from our singing people, some well worth the nation's ear. Songs to work to, and to fight to, and to set our quotas to.
Well, the German Army General Staff guess they missed connection. They went 100 miles a day, but in the wrong direction. Hey, round, round, Hitler's grave, round, round we go. Don't lay that poor boy down, he won't get out no more. Now, Mussolini won't last long, tell you the reason why. We're gonna salt his beef and hang it up to dry. Hey, round, round, Hitler's grave, round, round we go. Don't lay that poor boy down, he won't get out no more. Now the Japs are traveling mighty fast, but they're on a one-way track. They started down that Burma road and they ain't coming back. Hey, round, round, Hitler's grave, round, round we go. Don't lay that poor boy down, he won't get out no more. Hey, round, round, Hitler's grave, round, round we go. Don't lay that poor boy down, he won't get out no more.
There will be other tunes, less tuneful tunes perhaps, harsh maybe, hard to take, but when the final chorus comes, it will be solemn and it will be great, an anthem for a free and a secure society of men the world around. To that day we must dedicate this day, together with our fighting brothers in all lands. There's a new job in the making, but it can be done. It can and will be done. Both friend and foe shall witness how we do it. All right now. Give us again that new American slogan, and with it let us toast our comrades in the fight. To the men of the United Kingdom on our far-flung fronts, thumbs up. To Soviet fighters on our eastern front, Privyetstoyem Bat. To all the men of China, Changhua, Minquao, Wanwansui. To the Netherlanders fighting with us on our fight along the Indies, Prost. To the betrayed but never conquered Czechs, the doughty Greeks, the Yugoslavs still fighting in the hills, the Austrians who wait the day to smash their Anschluss, to the Poles who shall remember Warsaw, to the proud Norwegians and the calm, disdainful Danes, to the Belgians and the French who smolder in their chains, to the mingled peoples of Malaya. Take heart, resist much, fight how you can. We are building for you. We are on the move. We are pointing to the day. To our own men across many seas and in the many foreign skies, good gunning to you, and Godspeed, and victory.
We ask you to join us again next Saturday evening when the 4 major networks bring you the second of this new series, Uniting the Resources of American Radio. Your narrator tonight was Lieutenant Robert Montgomery, United States Navy. The original musical score was composed and conducted by Lynn Murray. The program was written and directed by Norman Corwin. Paul Muni will appear next week in a program entitled The White House and the War, broadcast by the 4 major networks at this same time. This is war.
Hi, fellas. This is G.I. Jill with G.I. Jive. Lots to be done today. Lots to be done. In the next 14 minutes, 4 tunes will be played, twice as many requests answered, plus a couple of miscellaneous remarks by yours truly. Put that all together, and you get G.I. Jive number 906. The Hawk takes off as a starter, the Hawk being one Mr. Erskine Hawkins and his orchestra, who take off to the tune of King Porter's Stomp. Porter was played especially for all you Erskine Hawkins fans out there. Now, here's Kay Kaiser's latest and a new record to G.I. Jive. It goes out to Private Louis B. Willis of APO 708, who asked for anything by Kay. You've probably been hearing a lot of this song, I'm Going to See My Baby.
I'm gonna see my baby. I'm gonna see my baby. I get home on Victory Day. I'm gonna kiss my little baby. I really miss my baby. I'm gonna kiss my baby. Live and love the U.S. way. Females, all right when you just have something to say. But females, not like when your arms around your honey and you're home to stay. I'm gonna see my baby. I really miss my baby. I'm gonna kiss my baby when I get home on that Victory Day. Gonna get back to the double track, see my friends down on the main stem. Go by the joint, say hello to the boss, then grab my chick and let's get lost. Gonna see my baby on the Victory Day.
Here's a strange request. It comes from Seaman First Class Harry Byer Jr. at Navy 167. Harry asked for a song appropriate for the rain and mud. Well, that made me think of the old tune Muddy Water, but I couldn't find it. Well, anyway, Harry, here's a pretty good one, and it also goes special delivery to the Engineer Depot at APO 928, Alan Jones and Clifton Thomas at Navy 66, PFC Jerenzia Reeves at 782, and Richard Carroll, Bailey, Green, Haley, Mitchell, and Akers at APO 986. The closest I could come to a rain and mud song.
Into each life some rain must fall, but too much is falling in mine. Into each heart some tears must fall, but someday the sun will shine. Some folks can lose the blues in their hearts, but when I think of you, another shower starts. Into each life some rain must fall, but too much is falling in mine.
Into each life some rain must fall, but too much is falling in mine. Into each heart some tears must fall, but someday the sun will shine. Some folks can lose the blues in their hearts, but when I think of you, another shower starts. Into each life some rain must fall, but too much is falling in mine.
Into each and every life some rain has got to fall, but too much of that stuff has fallen into mine. And into each heart some tears got to fall. But I know that someday that sun is bound to shine.
Some folks can lose the blues in their hearts,
but when I think of you, another shower starts. Into each life some rain must fall, but
And those were the Ink Spots and Ella Fitzgerald singing Into Each Life Some Rain Must Fall. And time to tell you this is G.I. Jive, fellas, with yours truly, Jill, diving at you as usual and still trying to sell this Harry James record. You've probably heard me say before that I think this is one of Harry's best. Well, it's going to spin again today, and this time for Glenn, Sax, Drum, Claude, and the Tank Destroyer at APO 40, and for pharmacist mate Robert T. Rogers. It's Harry James, Kitty Callan doing the vocal, and I'm beginning to see the light.
I never cared much for moonlit skies. I never winked back at fireflies. But now that the stars are in your eyes, I'm beginning to see the light. I never went in for afterglow or candlelight on the mistletoe. But now when you turn the lamp down low, I'm beginning to see the light. Used to ramble through the park, shadow boxing in the dark. Then you came and caused the spark that's a forlorn fire now. I never made love by lantern shine. I never saw rainbows in my wine. But now that your lips are burning mine, I'm beginning to see the light.
Well, that wraps me up and puts me away till tomorrow about the same time. Thanks for your cards, letters, and requests. It's really swell to hear from you. Till tomorrow, then, this is your G.I. Gal Jill saying good morning to some of you, good afternoon to some more of you, and to the rest of you, good night.
This is the Armed Forces Radio Service.
Presenting the adventures of Jungle Jim. The adventures of Jungle Jim, broadcast weekly over this station, are dramatized from the full-color action pictures to be found in the Comic Weekly, the world's greatest comic supplement that comes to you each week with your Hearst Sunday newspaper. Join the 11 million adults and the 6 million youngsters who enjoy the world's best artists featured in every issue of the Comic Weekly, which comes to you with your Hearst Sunday newspaper. Jim, heading for the Orient aboard the SS Albatross, accidentally runs into a family quarrel between a Mr. and Mrs. O'Neill. However, it develops into much more than just a spat between husband and wife, as Mrs. O'Neill unburdens herself to Jim with a story of intrigue and espionage as weird as any he ever heard of. Her husband proves to be Hacker O'Neill, in the employ of one of the Axis powers, and is planning to give away the position of the blacked-out Albatross just to accomplish a fitting revenge on Jungle Jim, and also to get rid of a wife of whom he seems to have tired. As he starts to flash a signal from the upper deck, Jim lands him in a heap by a flying tackle.
Just keep your hands in the air for a few minutes. It'll be healthier for you.
You've seen too many Wild West pictures, mister. Come on, stop this horseplay. I've got other things to do.
Things like signaling with a flashlight to whoever may be out there in the darkness?
You got me all wrong. Here, take the flashlight and let me alone. I've got to get out of here.
You've got to go nowhere. We're going to the captain, and he'll decide what you can and cannot do for the balance of this voyage.
Look here, Bradley. That's a waste of time. Maybe we ain't got too much time left for such nonsense.
What do you mean? I've got plenty of time, all day and night if necessary.
That's what you think. Look here, Bradley. Can't we make some sort of a deal? I'm not without means, and I'd be willing to pay a handsome sum to keep this thing just between us. You know, publicity and such can't do anyone any good.
Well, that's something else again. Now, what would you consider handsome? Now, don't get me wrong. I'm just sort of mildly interested, should we say.
Well, I can be discreet, too, but as you don't look like the sort of a fellow to bargain with, I'll name one price. It's worth $1,000 to me for you to forget the whole matter and drop it at once.
It's not a bad figure.
I knew you'd be sensible the moment I saw you. It's a deal.
Well, not quite.
Now, what's the matter?
There are certain things you don't buy and sell, you dirty spying crook. And it's about time you found it out. And liberty is one of them. In fact, I'm going to make it my business to see that you haven't much of that for a long time to come.
So you're going to turn me and you double-crosser?
Keep a civil tongue in your head, you rat.
Don't hit me. Don't hit me. I'll keep quiet.
Yes, and keep going, too. Don't stop till we reach the captain's quarters. And now just keep your own gun in your back till we arrive. Now, come on, get going.
Well, we keep on this course for another 2 hours. We should be well out of the danger zone, Mr. Curtis.
Yes, sir, Captain. Sir, why don't you try to get some rest? 72 hours. It's enough for anyone to try to stick to such a nerve-wracking post. We'll be all right, sir.
Well, we haven't much more to go. I'll let you relieve me in an hour.
If you say so, sir, but I'd rather do it now.
Well, thanks, Curtis. I'll not forget this, but I think my place is here. We're running at a dangerous speed without lights.
I'd feel better if the Navy had seen fit to give us some sort of a patrol.
Well, if it'll make you feel better, we're picking one up at Panama. Who's there?
Bradley, a passenger, sir.
Open the door, Mr. Curtis. I'll kill the light.
Yes, sir. Come in. Careful there. No lights.
I have another passenger with me. Come on in with you.
Lights, sir.
Hey, what's the meaning of this? Passengers don't carry firearms aboard my ship. Put that gun down.
Here are my credentials, Captain. Naval Intelligence. And the gun belongs to this fellow. I took it away from him.
James Bradley. Now, who is this man?
A passenger, sir, named O'Neill, whom I believe was trying to contact an enemy submarine by means of flashlight signals on the port rail of A deck. That's what I caught him doing.
Put that man in irons, Mr. Curtis.
This is all a big mistake, Captain. This fellow Bradley seems to be a bit touched on the subject of spies.
No one said anything about spies, O'Neill. Why do you bring it up? And if this is of no importance, maybe you'd like to repeat your offer of a few moments ago. Captain, he offered me a bribe of $1,000 to forget the whole incident.
When a fellow's got a gun in your ribs, you're liable to say anything, Captain.
Well, that's what he said, sir. And I'm sure he knew exactly what he was talking about.
Put your hands out.
You can't do this to me. I'm not a common criminal. You can accuse me of anything, but proving it is another matter. Any man is supposed to be innocent until he's proved otherwise. That's the law.
And the law gives me the power to exercise my judgment in the behalf of the ship and passengers in my care. Put the irons on him, Mr. Curtis.
Put those hands out.
I'm doing this under protest.
I don't care how you do it. Get them out.
Mr. Bradley, congratulations on your patience. I believe I'd have kicked him overboard if I caught him doing what you accused him of.
Brig, sir?
Yes, I think it'll be the safest place. And, Mr. Bradley.
Yes?
I expect your cooperation in pressing charges when we arrive at port.
When we arrive at port, that's a laugh. You'll never arrive.
Take him out of here, Mr. Curtis, or I'll remove those irons myself and teach that lout some manners.
He'll be in the brig, sir.
That was a torpedo. Stand by. We may have to abandon ship.
Take these bracelets off me.
Get out of my way or I'll kick you.
I can't swim with these irons.
Isn't that too bad?
Try to keep an eye on this man. If there's room in any one of the boats, rescue him. I'd like to see him hung.
Aye, aye, sir.
Come in.
Torpedo on the port bow, sir. Engine room is flooded. She's high for the stern, sir.
Get a message off, Sparks.
Okay, sir.
SOS.
All right.
Lifeboat station. Lifeboat station. Boat number 3, this way to boat number 3.
Oh, dear me, what happened?
There's nothing to be excited about, lady. Everything will be all right. Just keep calm.
I should have stayed home like Harry wanted me to.
Put that life preserver on. It'll do you no good to carry it.
Hi there. Sparks, are you all right?
Yes, sir. But that hit carried away the antenna. Didn't have a chance to send the first signal.
Try to rig up some kind of a portable.
Yes, sir.
What's your boat station, madam?
I don't remember.
Come on, I'll find one for you.
Oh, will we be safe?
Yes, I think so, madam. Have you got a coat?
Why, oh, sure, down in my stateroom. I'll go get it.
No, here, take mine.
Oh, thank you.
You'll need it. Here, hey, you. Take care of this lady.
Aye, sir. Come on, lady. This way.
The dirty swine. They not only torpedo me, but now shell us. At point-blank range, you inhuman devils. Hard over there, boys.
Captain, we're taking water fast. Can't last more than a few minutes, and the list won't let us launch the boats.
Well, see if you can throw some of the rafts from that side. Ha! There go the lights.
I'll see if the engineer can switch the battery, sir.
Yeah, go ahead. How are the passengers behaving?
Good as can be expected, sir. No trouble yet, sir.
Fine.
All right, the ship. Cross over to the port. Don't crowd. There's plenty of room for everyone. Take it.
Mrs. O'Neill. Mrs. O'Neill.
What is it? What's up? Who's there?
Open the door. Come on, get up. We've been hit by a torpedo.
Oh, I thought I heard something, but I was so fast asleep.
Listen, girl, hurry up. Why, you could sleep through the sound of Gabriel's horn.
Oh, I'll be right with you. But where's Hacker?
I don't know, and I don't care either. You're the only one I'm thinking about now. Come on, we've only got a few minutes. Here you are, lady. Here you are. One more place in this boat.
Come on, Jim. There's always room for one more.
Oh, never mind me. You go ahead. Come on, lady. Get aboard. Come on, lady. Come on, get in there, madam. Go
There
on.
goes the last lifeboat, sir. There's plenty of passengers left aboard, sir.
Well, get preservers on them and tell them to get overboard. It's their only chance.
Aye, aye, sir.
How's the crew behaving?
Get overboard there.
How's that crew
Wonderful,
behaving?
sir. Right up
Good.
to scratch, sir.
Try to throw everything overboard. That'll float, too. That'll help a little.
Come on, get overboard. The water's getting up to the bottom. She'll blow up any minute.
Daddy, I can't find her.
Madam, you can't stay here any longer. Now go on, get down there. The order to abandon ship has been given.
Jim.
Can I help?
Yeah, get this woman overboard while there's still time.
All right, come on, lady. We'll find you, Jimmy. He's not on board. Can you swim?
Yes, sure.
All right, then, come on. We'll jump together. How you doing? All right?
I'm fine. Jimmy.
Here's the cabinet. Just hold on here. We'll try to get you picked up by one of the boats. Oh. Hold my hand. Hold my hand, darling.
Oh, over here. I'll be right over.
That's it. Here. Let me give you a hand.
I'm all right. Well, these Vipers did a good job of it. They shelled every boat and raft that was afloat.
Yeah. Guess the only reason we were spared was they couldn't find us.
I think we're the only two.
see any signs of anyone else?
Not since dawn. Heard a lot of voices near me during the night, but not one since the sun came up.
Well, we can last about a day in the sun. But that's all.
Well, a lot can happen in a day.
Yeah? You can go mad with thirst.
Now, look. Don't think about it. How about lasting yourself to this bar? There's some rope at that end.
Might as well. Yeah. Save some strength, but I don't know for what.
Hey!
Oh, let go! What are you...
What's the matter? Curtis! Curtis! Look, the water's getting red. Only one thing could do that. A shark!
Don't miss the next exciting episode of The Adventures of Jungle Jim. Remember, you can follow these adventures in the full-color action pictures to be found in the Comic Weekly, which comes to you with your Hearst Sunday newspaper. And now, a very special announcement. Listen closely. Avenge Pearl Harbor, Manila, and Wake Island. Here is how you can do your part to strike a vigorous blow at our treacherous enemies. Join the campaign to Buy a Bomber. To have a part in this stirring effort for your country, put your contributions, no matter how large or small, in an envelope and mail it at once to the Buy a Bomber Fund in care of the Sunday newspaper that brings you your Comic Weekly. Join the hundreds of thousands of patriotic citizens who have started a flood of dimes and dollars to buy a bomber and avenge Pearl Harbor, Manila, and Wake Island. Do your bit today. Remember, an average of only a few dimes from each reader will raise the $300,000 necessary to buy a bomber for Uncle Sam. Remember to send your contributions, large or small, to the Buy a Bomber Fund in care of your Sunday newspaper that brings you the Comic Weekly.